Seasons may change, feelings may sway, sunlight may wander, but what still remains? The memories we made under the shade. Yeah, we may grow older, but time won't take away. Summertime is for loving, looking for something. Blue skies, wasting time doing nothing. And all that you were, and all that you are, all these things that I find, you remind me of. Summertime is for loving, looking for something. Blue skies, wasting time doing nothing. All that you were, and all that you are, all these things that I find, you remind me of summertime.
Wait, now I'm here. Yay! Hi everyone, it's me, Munchie. Hopefully I sound decent, because I'm not in my normal setup. And yes, I am enjoying my break. Welcome everyone. Yes, I am hosting Rice Radio. Sally came. Oh no, of course. Thank you for just popping in. Um any popping in. Good luck with whatever you need, Pingu. Of course. All right. So, how do I sound? Is anyone able to proofread my sound through their own ears and tell me? Um. It's a bit musty. It's okay. It's a bit musty and crusty. Slowly. No, you're right. I'm pretty sure it will sound a little musty and crusty. You sound like I'm in a bottle? Oh my god. What does it even sound like? Yeah, a bit. Let me see if this helps it at all. Does that fix anything? Do I sound more like a bottle? I don't know if that did anything. I'm using an a bit better? Okay. I'm using technically an actual headset. I have a mic, and I don't have a mic right now. So we sound like what we eat. So hopefully that helps. All right. So, um, I just realized that statement made no sense. We sound like what we eat. Ignore me. So today is about mental health, everyone. We're gonna be talking about mental health and all the things about it through our own personal journeys, and of course we'll be opening up for questions later on. So if you do have any mental health questions for us, then let us know. A good disclaimer is that we're not professional mental health people of yet, and everyone's different, so the things that we say may or may not work for you. So just make sure to listen with care when it comes to our own things and what we went through. But yeah, so I would wait longer, but I feel like I sound not the best, so let's just bring everyone here. All right, where is everyone? How do I turn on TV? Oop, there it is. Look, it's everyone. I'm also deafened, so maybe that's why you cannot hear everyone. You can see them though. Ooh. Wait, where's my Discord? No one look at me. God. Okay, there it is. Yay! Now you can hear everyone.
Hooray!
Hello.
Hello.
Everyone also might sound a little crusty and musty too, but we'll make do with it. All right. So starting, if you guys can see the television, starting from top, um, what top? Okay, top left. Your left?
No.
And going down, we will introduce ourselves that way. Did you crop the cams? I tried, okay? We are a little bit squished. Oh, you're right. These look super squished. Oh! Nothing happened, ignore me. Okay. Not sure if that fixed it, but they look nicer. Because I'm not in my normal setup. I have a different
It's
thing I could
fine.
use for this. Um, but I think you'll look fine. Hey, they say the camera adds 10 pounds, and we should all embrace those things. um, but Hypo, introduce yourself.
Me? Oh boy. Hi everyone. I'm Hypo. Um, I am in my 30s. I am a mom of two, so my mental gets tested every day. So I feel like I am a good candidate for this. Mhm. Um, and mental health is important to me because I have multiple mental illnesses. I have complex PTSD and borderline personality disorder, and I've spent most of my life trying to navigate that. So I'm happy to be here and to share with everybody.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. And yes, you sound like you have a lot to talk about, and I can't wait to get some of your wisdom from you.
Ah, thank you.
All right. So next, Henry, tell us more about you.
Oh, hi. My name is Henry. I'm about 28, and I'm a little nervous about doing this because mental health is very important to me, but I'm also not very good at like expressing it. So I'm hoping I can push through it and sort of help out in any way I can.
Of course. Hey, any wisdom is good wisdom when it comes to mental health, especially if you have a passion for it. All right, Tina.
Hello, hi, I'm a bunny VTuber and artist. I'm also an art student. Oh yeah, I'm 23. Mental health is really important to me because it ties in with my productivity and also how I get things done as a student. I think it's just recently, I think I've overcome a lot of things and have worked on my mental health, and I'd love to talk to everyone about it as well.
Nice. Yes, I think always talking about the things that you've gone through and just showcasing to others is such a good thing to do because it gives inspiration when people may or may not know it or need it. But it's just good to hear other people's stories. All right, Ellen.
Hello, I'm Elvin. I'm a variety streamer. I'm 26. Man, I'm old, but not that old. um, Mental health is rather important to me because it affects a lot of people and myself as like a graphic designer because um kind of have stumps and like mental like art blocks and stuff, and that can like get in the way a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's great too because a lot of people within the streaming universe do tend to like have a lot of things that they are working on. So having those type of things to mention and that you've also struggled with is great too. I also didn't introduce myself, which was kind of awkward. But hi, I'm Munchie. I'm ageless, and I am studying mental health to become one day a psychologist. Um, right now, yeah, psychologist, therapist, one of those things. I know they're not, some worlds they're kind of interchangeable, some places they're not. But either or, mental health is such a big thing about me and something I want to help out with other people and be able to support wherever it's needed and give people tools for their mental health journey. So that's me. And today we're just going to discuss a lot of little topics. I think the first topic I'm going to bring out, and anyone can talk in any order they want. Just make sure you give everyone a chance to say what they have to say. But we'll start with streaming versus IRL. So like, how do you balance streaming within your mental health? Don't all jump on once.
I think we're just all shy.
You're
Yeah,
allowed to be.
I
It's
am.
my first time too. But I can start. Um,
Cool.
well, I don't stream nearly as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Because of school and I'm finishing up my last semester, so your girl's graduating soon. But there was a point where I did stream a lot, and I think, oh my god, this had a really big impact on my mental health. It was like overworking myself and just not knowing how to allocate my time properly. Right now, I think I chose to prioritize school, and it's given me a lot of time away from social media. I've also, I think, like, I love streaming. Streaming is so fun and content creation is really fun, but I think at some point it I started to invest too much into it to the point where I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
really spend time with my friends or like actually touch grass. And that
Oh.
started to deteriorate my mental so much. So I like personally for me, I think having that healthy balance is really
Mm-hmm.
important in order to like keep yourself sane and be happier overall because you don't want to overwork yourself, especially as a creator.
Of course. Yeah. No. Those. I think unfortunately, people sometimes need to go through the hardship to understand where that balance is. But it's always good to, when you get it, be able to do something with it. So no, thank you so much for for letting us see the struggle that you were into when it comes to streaming. What about everyone else?
I can share.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of balancing streaming and IRL, I actually have a lot of experience with this and the fact that I have spent my last 3 years shut inside.
Oh.
And it has not helped me mentally or physically. So I'm trying to find that balance now.
Mm-hmm.
I dove right in, saw it as like an escape. I felt like I belonged somewhere for once in my life, and while that was great, I kind of started to ignore my real life. So like
Mm.
I think it's actually really important to find that balance any way that you can because spending all of your time in real life kind of alienates you in the sense that you miss everything, but at the same time just deciding to live your entire life in front of your computer isn't all that great either. So I'm trying to work on things, especially with being more physically active, because I've noticed that being more physically active gives me more energy, and
Oh
I
yeah.
need that. And
Yes.
and I can definitely
Yes.
relate to the whole touching grass thing. I need to go touch
Mhm.
grass.
Yes, touching grass is important, everyone. Unless you are allergic to grass, I understand. That has come
Oh my
up a
god.
lot.
I actually knew somebody who was. I was like, what? Crazy.
Yeah, I've actually met a lot of people through my profession that have a allergy to grass. So I had to just tell them what that expression really meant. It's like going outside and like participating. You don't actually have to go touch grass. Um, that's a quick disclaimer, you know. Also, people are asking what grass is. So if you go outside, and like open your window, you in the field you will see some green things on it. Um, Usually, and it's plant based, so it's grass. Technically, it is edible, but I don't really recommend it unless you're an animal. Um, it can help with upset stomachs if you're a dog or a cat, so helpful. But it's there. You can touch it. It's a little pointy sometimes, depending if it's cut or not. But yeah. Thank you for the questions, everyone. What's outside? We'll get to that next time. All right, Elvin. And Henry, any inputs when it comes to streamer versus life?
Well, for me, like my life tends to get kind of hectic, so I tend to use sort of streaming as a way to sort of let off steam a bit, since I
Mm-hmm.
do tend to like play games anyways, and so my thought process like, hey, if I'm gonna do it, I might as well go live and see if I could socialize with anyone else.
Yeah.
And in that regard, because I'm also a little bit socially awkward and
Oh.
anxious, so I also use it to sort of push it out, and at the same time, I want to use so because I get really awkward in real life
Mm-hmm.
in a way, and apologies if I'm mumbling or stammering a bit over this. But so I was hoping I could use sort of whatever I build from that to sort of get more comfortable pushing myself to the out in real life in
Hmm.
sort of sense.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Honestly, that's also what I do it. I like I said, my profession is working mental health, and currently I do work supporting children who are in the autism spectrum. And as much as I love that job, it's a lot. I do have to use a lot of
Right.
energy, and I do have to take care of myself too. But on those moments where I think I need to like find where I'm trying to find my balance is like I play video games, I do streaming, I do things that I ordinarily don't get to do because I'm always kind of watching other people, and I usually call it my
Mhm.
little selfish mental break because it is like I'm turning everything off for the moment, especially on weekdays, and just going, "This is me. This is munchy time."
Mhm.
So, um, so this I totally hear that, Henry. I do the same thing, like streaming. A lot of people, it's always weird. Like, what is streaming to you? It's like it's my mental health break. It's like my time to find people in the community who
Right.
enjoy me and like we can enjoy each other. And very well spoken because like that's also how I do it. Elvin?
um, Similar to like Henry, I am a very like socially awkward person in real life. So I use streaming as like an escape. And I play games. Like the mentality of like, why not just stream and try to like over overcome like my social angst
Hmm.
through that way. And when COVID hit, I was like, I took advantage and like streamed as much as I could, but it was
Hmm.
also like also took like a mental toll. Like I streamed every day. It was very bad, and it was like an unbalance between um like actually talking to friends versus
Mm.
talking to friends on stream, because those are definitely two different things as well.
Hmm.
So yeah. As of recently, it's gotten a lot better.
No, I hear that too. Um, and I think that discovery, especially when the pandemic hit, that's what I'm calling it. It sounds cuter that way.
Oh my god. I'm like, what?
The pandemic. Um, you gotta make things cute sometimes to get through it.
It has
So,
though.
yeah, when that hit, I'm pretty sure that I mean, it's statistically you saw that a lot of cases for therapy kind of raised up a lot, especially during that time. And like it makes
Mm.
sense. We're all worried about sickness. We're all worried about am I allowed to leave my house? We're worried about other people. When someone coughs, you're like, okay, we're all gonna die. It's Planet Z now. Like, what's gonna happen? Um, and that's the thing. Like that's the thing that worried us a lot. So no, just mentioning those things makes sense. And I think that segues perfectly. The next topic is that I saw that a lot of streamers talk about is how long do you stream and what and like we talked about a little bit, but like what seems like a comfortable amount of time of streaming um to help balance things out. I think that's a lot of questions people mention and talk about going like I just did two 72-hour streams back to back. So, um,
Gee.
so I think it's just good to talk about that topic of like, what do the streams look like? Are they plausible? Should people keep streaming for that long? And of course, everything's opinion based and just like what you have found for yourself, because it does seem like a lot of us at the start of streaming may have gone into the thing of like, let's keep streaming a lot and every day. Um, but now it seems like a lot of us have reached going like, let's balance it out a little bit.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I can talk on that. Um, so the whole like 72-hour thing is something that I can't do. And I struggle a lot of times because it's actually quite dangerous for me mentally to not
Hmm.
get sleep. So, yeah, because I can kind of like go manic, start treating people poorly, start treating myself poorly, and it's just not good. So I actually kind of feel sad sometimes that I can't do like a donathon or a subathon or
Mm.
a bitathon,
Hmm.
because it's like if I tie, financial contribution to the length of my stream like that, there will be a time where I just have to cut it off. So it's difficult for me in that sense, to be able to do that. In terms of like normal lengths of streams, mine have actually gone down. I used to stream 7 to 9 hours a day, and now
Oh.
I stream 3 to 5, sometimes 6 hours a day, kind of tailoring it back a little, mainly because, like I said before, I have trouble with balance. So, I'm trying, even if I'm not gonna go touch grass, I try to, give myself some me time to like decompress and, do something that's not in front of a screen, like
Mm-hmm.
read or, or color or do a craft or, even if I do just go lay in bed and watch TV, it kind of gives me a little bit of discipline in terms of like, we're not trying to live our entire life. We're not trying to be chronically online anymore, Hypo. So I'm working on it.
No, that sounds amazing. I mean, I think that discovery is that thing. Like mentioned before, you gotta discover before you know where your limit is. Because like that's the thing. It's unfortunately you can guess your limit, but like you won't know your limit unless you go like, wow, it's been like 5 hours and I'm really feeling it, and it's a constant thing. And like
Mhm.
maybe you should just do like a nice 4 hour streams or 3 hour streams, or if you do, maybe take breaks in between. And I feel like some streamers may have a hard time finding that, like wanting to take breaks and things like that. So no, it's really good to mention like being able to like just go off the computer for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can also talk about my experience too.
Of
Oh
course.
my god, you mentioning stream times and how often you stream just gave me flashbacks, man. Okay, so um not too long ago I was partner pushing and I think I had never streamed so much before in my life. I think it was like a couple months of full-time school and I would stream 3 times a week and I don't know why, but I pushed myself super hard. I would do like 5 to 10 hours like Hypo did as well. And I was like, oh my god.
Mhm.
Looking back, I cannot do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That actually burnt me out so bad. And I went on a really long hiatus to recover. And I think I'm still recovering because now I'm doing once a week like 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours max, probably. It's
Oh.
just a little tiring. No, no, no. It's a lot of tiring, okay? It's tiring. I don't know how people can do like those 72-hour streams and stuff like that. Like I understand why, but it's like I imagine it's so mentally and physically taxing on your body. I can't, you know. So I think for me personally, I'm just more comfortable in that 3 hour, 4 hour range, especially because I draw. And drawing takes a
Mm-hmm.
long time, but
Mm.
it is like doing work on top of socializing. As an
Mhm.
introvert, that just drains me a lot more. And I have to put a limit on it.
I love that. Put a lemon. I heard lemon. I know you said limit.
Oh, lemon. I'm sorry. I have braces. Sometimes I like mispronounce things. Oh, it
No, no, it
happens.
wasn't you calling me out. I just like
I'm
I
putting
like
a
that.
lemon on it
I
right
like
now.
that. I like the idea of putting a lemon on it.
Just gonna put a lemon on it.
It's a nice topping to things, but I think but aside of that, putting a limit to things is that I think someone mentioned in chat set those bound. Oh my god, I know them. Okay, but set set those boundaries is very important. Um, and it's not easy to do, but and unfortunately sometimes you do have to go through the term word being burnout to be able to understand where your limits are, because like you might come in going like, I can do 24-hour streams every day of my whole life and I got the energy and stamina for it, but sometimes those things do deplete. So I think what Tina said was great, because like now you know, it's like starting slow so you can go back to like a more comfortable place, but you need to understand where that comfortable place is at in the first place.
Yeah, definitely like small steps instead of like overexerting yourself
Mhm.
and then it's too
Yeah.
late, you know?
Yeah, I think everyone has like their own mental capacity of how long they can go, and it may take some people longer than they expect, or like once they wrote into it, it's sort of get lost into it. Personally, I try to take up a schedule to it. Like so, I'd say
Mm-hmm.
I would stream like maybe 3 times a week and keep it around the same days, and I
Mm.
average around maybe 4 to 5 hours usually.
Oh.
But I tend to have like that capacity to go even longer if I wanted to. but I know I try to keep myself within those lines, just not to overexert myself. And I'm not beholden to that schedule either. If real life stuff happens,
Yeah.
I'll try to just work around it as well. I don't want to stay beholden to, oh no, I have to stream this day.
No, that's the key. I think that's a really good key is first thing, if you do make a schedule, even if you feel like you have the energy, cutting yourself off is usually a good thing. That's part of the balancing and part of the checking yourself going like, I know I could keep going. Like I know I got the energy for it.
Yeah.
But
Probably
but like
good if I just stop right here.
yeah, and it's good. Like because it might become a habit, and then habits are harder to break. But once you start yourself giving yourself limits, it's always a good place. Or as we love to say now, lemons. If you give yourself lemons, you know when to stop.
Lemons.
Um,
Gotta put a lemon on it.
put a lemon on it. Um, and then another thing that was mentioned is um knowing when to stop. I think that also being able, like, when you have a schedule and you go like, I think a lot of us as content creators, and correct me if I'm wrong, feel bad when we have to say, oh, we can't stream this one day that we said we're gonna stream, or like, oh
Mm,
man, guys, I'm
Yeah.
so
Like, oh
sorry, like,
yes.
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, it's
All the
like,
time.
For
no,
sure.
it's a real thing, and I think we're allowed to feel that way. Like, I don't think some people you didn't say it's like, no, it's okay. It's like, oh yeah, we know it's okay, but like there's still always that feeling of like, oh damn, I had so much I want to do. But I think it's always good when committing to that. It's like, okay, there's family problems happening. I have to go to the vet. I forgot to eat for like 2 days. I need to start, things
Oh my god.
things like that are things like that are good to like figure out. Oh, it's like, yeah, I feel so bad, but most of the time, and majority of the time I've seen, the community that we've built usually understands. I've haven't, especially within um Rice Bowl and V Donbury, I haven't really seen anyone go up in arms going like, you're not gonna stream the day you said you're gonna stream. You don't love us anymore. We're gonna write.
How
We're
dare
moving
you?
on. We're going to one of the other streamers that are on sleeping on their camera 24/7, which are valid. I mean, those without talking mostly about it. I feel like that's also a fun way to balance things out. Is like sleep. If you are comfortable enough to sleep on a stream, then do it, because
Just
that's technically a mental health thing. Also, people who eat during stream and like go like, it's my lunch break, guys. We're gonna eat for a little bit and then we'll go back to it. Like those are a way to like balance it out. It's like if you have a stamina on the need to like keep streaming, work, but make
Yeah.
sure to like include your breaks, or take a whole sleep if needed.
Yeah. I was like a huge offender of when when the pandemic hit. um just streaming, and then I'd start at like 11 a.m. Pretty reasonable, and then it's 11 p.m. I'm like, okay, well, there goes
Yeah.
my day. But I'm like, I feel good, but it's like it's definitely not good mentally
Mm,
and physically, because I normally would take like what, 2 breaks in those, like 2 small breaks. It wasn't even long. Um, it was like really bad. Uh, so it's like now I think 3 to 4 hours or 3 to 5 hours is definitely a good range of stream time.
no, I think that's always I always feel like that's like the most general range. It's like three. I mean, I always go with like 2 to 5 hours is like a decent range, because like if we put it in this perspective of how a job is, they're kind of similar,
Mhm.
especially like an office job. I think that's the perspective. If I said an actual job, like a 9 to 5 job, you're never leaving. But like if this was like a nice little office job type of situation, starting at one thing and then like 5 hours later a thing, and then like that should be fine. That's a good enough load. And again, if you're able to do more, finding those little breaks and like actual breaks, not just like,
Mhm.
I blinked, I'm done. I
right.
took my eye
That's
rest for the
good.
day. I blinked, guys. It's fine. And I think one thing you mentioned, I know we're all about the mental, but your mental cannot be strong without your physical. And
Mhm.
Right.
I and rumor has it, if you sit in a chair for such a long period of time, your body will not be too happy with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
People take
And I think that part too is like to have a decent mental health. You need to have a decent physical health, and I'm
Mhm.
not saying like go do a marathon and go like you know go like have some weights on you 24/7 while streaming. I'm not. That's not like the accusation. It's like going on for like a small walk or just like getting up and like stretching yourself out. Your body will we get slouchy if you don't give yourself that much. Um, and that's a good segue, unless we all have more points to talk about when it comes to streaming hours. Another segue I want to go into is um, well, what are some things you do during, before, or after stream to help you from things that, certain things like streaming fatigue or just like be able to separate okay, I'm done streaming, I'm done content creation, I'm gonna do this. Or when you're about to go into content creation, what are some things you do to go like, all right, time to like put myself here, I'm about to go do this thing.
I think okay, so for me, I stream a few hours after I finish my classes,
Mm-hmm.
and I usually just have like a routine already in place. And for me, it's just like hitting the gym before a stream just to get my
Ooh.
energy levels up. And well, I've already been gymming before streaming anyway, so it's just like a good bonus basically before streaming. And then for me, like I spend a little bit of time just doing or practicing whatever I'm planning to do in stream so that I'm like fully prepared mentally. I don't know why. I just feel the need to like build that up. For me, I just can't go straight into streaming without like being sure of what I'm doing. Like for example, if I'm drawing, I want to be sure that I can, draw my best or I'm ready to draw or that I don't have art block or something like that. And then after stream, I think for me, I just physically need to walk away from the computer just to like detach myself so that I can tell my
Mhm.
brain, okay, I'm done with whatever I'm doing. I'm not gonna keep going and I'm gonna rest. That's what worked for me, and I feel like it's made me a lot more happier than when I would just stay there for a long time, but that's just me personally.
No, oh my God, work. Like those are amazing things. And what you're saying is, yeah, sometimes you have to build yourself to get there. Not everyone can just like go straight into streaming. That's why the question is like, oh, what are some rituals? Or like some of the topics people talk about online. It's like, what are some rituals you do? It's like, it sounds weird, but like I think some of us do. It's like if it's not just us eating something in the beginning, um,
Mhm.
gymming. That's a new verb. Gymming is also a thing we can do to like recharge our batteries, especially like you said, you after your classes. um I take online classes, so going on a walk and gymming before a stream makes a lot of sense because like I'm already sitting a lot.
Mhm.
So if I ended up just going straight from my online classes and straight into streaming, I'll just be sitting the whole time, and I'm pretty sure that
Mhm.
I will be chair shaped by the end of the day and would not be able to lay down. So, anyone else? Any rituals that you feel
Um,
like you want to mention?
so I can go, but don't look at me, okay? Because I'm stuck and we're not going to talk about it. Um,
What are you looking at, Hypo? Come back.
um, oh, there we go. There we go. Okay.
Oh.
So my pre-stream kind of rituals is just coffee. Like there's no way I'm facing anybody, virtual or IRL, without coffee.
Yeah.
So I always make sure to have me a cup. I try to make sure that I've eaten. I try to make sure, because I'm old and I've had two kids, so I make sure I try to go to the bathroom first. So
Yeah.
that way I'm not going to the
Mhm.
bathroom like immediately after starting. And so I'm one of those that can actually just hit the button for the most part, you
Mhm.
Mhm.
know? But and I've also kind of realized that I'm also that kind of person that will do it all day if I don't. So I'm trying to implement this whole like post stream ritual of like,
Mm.
going to watch a YouTube video or like having a solid plan of what I'm going to do after stream, because if I have no plans for the day and I hit that button without thinking about it, I will stream all day. And it's not good for me.
Mm.
Like
Mhm.
I'm an extrovert, and I think that, like Tina said, Tina's an introvert. It actually gives me life and gives me energy to feel like I'm being social. But the caveat of that is I don't realize when my battery's empty.
Mm.
Mm.
Because I do love being around people, and I start to feel bad if I feel like I don't want to leave, because if I leave, I think this is also tied to my personality disorder. I have really bad abandonment issues. So
Mhm.
I feel like if I leave and I say, "Okay, I'm done," and there's an active chat, I feel like that's going to come back to bite me, but that's my brain lying to me, you know?
Mm.
So I feel like there's a lot of different things that need to go through my head and that I need to reassure myself with before I go live or after. So that way I can do what's best for me.
No, yeah, that's a really smart thing to do. Um, and yeah, coffee. Coffee literally, I know it's not like this big ritual of gymming or summoning something, but like coffee is enough
So,
when it comes to just eating it. I am allergic to coffee. Not really though. I just say that so people stop offering me coffee. Um,
Right.
but I'm the type of person where like, a tea, I do tea.
Mhm.
My morning ritual can literally just be like, I'm gonna drink some tea, I'm gonna watch a video about people doing crazy stuff, and then like, okay, cool, I'm good, I'm refreshed, I can do this. And that after stream, being able to just disconnect. I think you both mentioned it already, but just unplugging
Mhm.
yourself from the internet. Not realistic, but it's a thing that can be done. By saying not realistic, I mean like it's easier to say sometimes than just do. It
Mhm.
is possible.
Mhm.
I mean, people are able to disconnect. But it's just we, especially for a content creator, you just want to keep connecting. You're like, no, internet
Yeah.
people, I want to interact with you
Yep.
more. So finding that balance is hard, but it's a thing. Like it's like I'm gonna commit to watching one YouTube video. Okay, well, stream's done. I said I was gonna go get grocery shopping. I gotta go get those eggs, or I'm just gonna have to
Mhm.
eat ramen again, without water or something. Like you have to make sure you like give yourself a place and time. And some things, it's like some little things after and beforehand. So just to help give yourself a limit.
Mhm. Um, being a morning person, like I'll wake up and like almost just go straight to streaming, but I try to like scroll through Twitter or go on TikTok for like a couple and then stream. I really don't have like this long morning routine, but I'll do that, and then once stream is done, I try to either like cook because I'm like not eating during stream, or like
Hmm.
because I'm gonna be like at least a 30-minute break. But that, or either run for like an hour or so. Try to get myself up and out.
Yeah, running is fun.
Yeah.
Everyone should run. Go run right now. No, I'm kidding.
Go for it. Do it.
Henry, what about you? Do you have any
Yeah.
um rituals?
For me, well, think before I go live, I tend to sort of meditate a bit and
Mm-hmm.
and just like try to refocus, like center myself before going on. I would hit the button, keep it on like maybe like the live screen, the welcome screen for a little bit, have some music then, and then while the music is just close my eyes and let the preachers and thoughts just pass through. And after, to get myself out of it, I would just go off and then tend to my doggo, whatever Kuro needs to do, like just pet her, give her some attention, take her out if she needs to. And she's been helpful a lot too, to help like center and like keep me sort of focused about like what's important about streaming and when to like cut it off. So she usually sees when I'm stressed or not, and then comes to comfort me during.
Aw, the power of pets.
Yes.
I don't have a pet. I wish I had a pet. I kinda, I know so many streamers that have like chinchillas and like little hamsters and things like that. And I live in a pretty small space, but like a big enough where I could like get one of those like giant hamster cages and just dedicate it to that hamster. Um, so because like I feel like sometimes having a companion can also help you kind of like balance
Hmm.
yourself out. Um, and like or knowing that you have someone else, like if you have a partner or kids, that can also like help going like, you know what, I have other people who also want to
Right.
see and hear me. That's also a good thing to just have going like, I need that. And like they can also be like, as Henry said, that grounding tool. I think the idea of having a grounding tool is very good, because like I think sometimes you have to ground yourself to be able to do something. um like a lot of us mentioned that like streaming, we can just like go for it, or it's something that really enjoy. But I know some people who like also still enjoy it, but sometimes have a hard time turning on that stream button. Um, so this is a question for everyone. um, um, when it comes to turning on that stream button, what are some suggestions you feel like help you when you ever may feel some anxiety about turning it
Mm, I get testing anxiety, and it's kind of like the same idea when it comes to streaming too, for
on?
some reason. And I think the only thought that really helps me, that really propels me, is like, it is what it is. Just go. And pushing yourself, like,
Right. Yes.
mentally, just you just gotta like, you just gotta force yourself to press it, because I think um streaming anxiety comes from like the fear that your stream won't do well, or that you
Mhm.
won't perform
Hmm.
as well, or today won't, it won't be as busy today, you won't have an active chat or something like that. Like, that is the fear that keeps you from streaming, I think. Well, for me at least. And honestly, like, it just helps to tell yourself it's fine. Like, just keep going no matter what. You just gotta force yourself to be in that
Mhm.
situation to know, because you never know. Like, you think, what if I flop? But like, girl, what if you slay? Like, you gotta think about it like
Yeah.
that. You just gotta prep yourself and just go in. And no
Mhm.
thoughts head empty, just press it.
No, hey, words to live by. Just go and slay. Like
For sure.
it's a good thing to put on yourself. Because like it's true. It's sometimes the best thing to do, especially if you know you have a little bit of anxiety or anxiousness building onto you. Just going, just like taking that deep dive. Like that's how I learned how to swim. um, um, like that's how I mean I can't say I got over all my fears that way. Like that's kind of exposing yourself to something. But being brave enough to even get close to it just means that you have enough tolerance. So it's always really good to go like, you know what? You're right. Let me just go. What's the worst? I think it's that thing when people say like, what's the worst that could happen? It's something
Mhm.
good to play in your
Mm-hmm.
mind, because like if you really think of it realistically, the worst that could happen really isn't the worst thing. um, like what's the worst thing can happen if I do if like I don't do on the test? It's like, okay, I get a chance to retake it, or I just won't pass this time, but hopefully I will get, like, there's always hope in
Mm-hmm.
things that can happen after a thing. So it's always good to have that, like, you know what, let me just close my eyes and like, let's just go, let's do it, let's see what happens. And
Mm-hmm.
usually you're better for it, from like what I've seen when people go for just go for it. It's like, oh, wow, I learned so much about myself.
I think, like, just to add on a little bit, is
Mhm.
there's really nothing to lose when you
Mhm.
stream.
Yeah.
Mhm.
um it's just the idea of failure, but you have so many tries to just try again. And I feel like there are so many good things that come out of streaming that are so unexpected,
Mhm.
and you just gotta really put yourself into position to be able to experience those surprises, because you never know
Mhm.
unless you try, right? So you might as well just go live and let
Yeah.
the surprises
Hmm.
come to you.
Yeah.
I also
Yep.
kind of have something for that too. So
Ooh.
I like the mentality, Tina, because I need to try that, because I think that my tip is good in moderation. My
Mm-hmm.
tip, if you can handle it, is grab some emotional support. Like I'll
Mm.
grab a Fira. I'll be
Mm.
like, hey Fira, I need help. I don't want to push the button, but I need to push the button, and she'll hop in a call with me and just hang out while I game. Um, so I feel like that's a cool little tip, but I feel like it only works for streamers that are willing to have other people's voices on
Right.
their stream, because
Mhm.
I know that some people don't like that. Um, and then I feel like I use that as a crutch too much, because I feel like almost always I have somebody at this
Mhm.
point. So I feel like there's a balance between it because I think I'm gonna take a page out of Tina's book and try to like hype myself up and be like, you're gonna slay, you always slay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because sometimes I do want that intimate connection with my chat, and that's hard to get if you have a guest.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Tina, when is that book coming out?
Yeah.
How to
As
Yes, I'm a
slay with
bestseller on my way.
How to
hell
slay
yeah.
with Tina.
Out.
But what about
um
you two
Yeah,
going
what
out?
Tina says relates a lot. Like it's always that fear of like, yeah, what if no one upstairs, or it's not as big of an active crowd at this time around and
mhm.
stuff, and it's really has to have some of those life affirmations. For me personally, I took up improv classes, and that helped me so much with getting more comfortable with just hitting it live.
Mm-hmm.
Because like what I've learned from there was they teach you to be okay with failing. It's okay to flop. It's gonna happen.
Mhm.
And so from I'm able to just go live and say, look, sometimes what you're saying might not might not mesh, might not hit off, but it's okay because at least you'll have the chat there to support you, or maybe someone else to bounce off of if it's bad or not. Or you could just own it yourself and just sort of make it your own in a way.
Yeah.
And so like I like with because of taking that, I got a lot more comfortable just leaning into like just go live and see what happens. And
Right.
and like planning all this stuff is like I wonder if no one's gonna show up. It's like we will never know until it happens. So just do it.
Yeah, no, very true. You never know what will happen, and just do it. Someone quote that, and someone quote that. Put it also as a cosign on. Apparently the book is called "Slaying with Lemons" by Tina the Bunny.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
so no, that's the thing. That's like the best thing is just knowing that, like, oh, let's just press it. Like,
Mhm.
not. I think a
Be
lot of people have too high expectations. But yeah, Elvin.
right. And you gotta be okay with like quote unquote failure if that's how you
Yes.
feel it,
Mhm.
Yeah.
how you see it.
Yeah, I was also like a person who would want someone with me so I can like bounce off them. But yeah, it lacks the intimacy of like talking to chat and getting to know them. Um, but over the years, I'm like just hitting it. But prior to that, it was more like I'll hit it and then something like recent happens and it's like, oh shoot, I can't do this anymore. Like all the mental
Mm,
block. But
Yeah.
recently I just full send it and just like go for it. I'm like, yeah, I'll
whatever.
just go for it. Walk down the hallway, probably hype myself up or scream or whatever, and then come back.
I think it also helps like the more you do it, the more comfortable you get, and maybe
Right.
like having that consistency with just how stream is going and just you being more comfortable with streaming in general, it'll make it much easier to press the button. Because I think
Mhm.
for me, like when I did stream more often, it became easier for me, and I didn't have that anxiety anymore. But because like it's so much more spaced out for me, I never know how it's gonna go, and that makes me feel uncomfortable and like nervous because I don't
Mhm.
know what to expect. But
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think like this is not for everyone, and not everyone has the schedule too. But I wonder if like if you stream more often, just like for a shorter amount of time, if that would build the confidence to press the button. What do you guys
Mm.
think?
Hmm.
Yeah, I like that thought overall. Like
Mhm.
it I definitely see what you mean because when I was streaming, to the point where I was burning myself out, I never had a problem hitting the button.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah.
going back to the whole schedule thing, I've realized that not having a schedule is the best thing for me because I don't hold myself to my schedule even if I can't handle it mentally. But not having a schedule also makes it harder to hit the button because it's
Mm-hmm.
like I have to make
Yeah.
a conscious choice instead of making it like a requirement, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I took a hiatus like because I was starting a new job, so I had zero time to stream, or I thought I would have zero time to stream. So once I took that hiatus and then found the time to stream again, coming back to it was almost like oh shoot, this isn't like the same amount of people watching, so it's like kind of um disheartening in a way because it's
Mhm.
like, but then again, it's when you realize that it's like, you're gone, and like you had like no streams prior to that. It's like overcoming that fact
Hmm.
Yeah.
of
I think the more often when I mean, sorry, I'm like I'm having a little bit of trouble formulating my thoughts right now. My brain's all over the place, but um, yeah, I understand how that feels because I also came back from a hiatus recently too, and it is kind of sad to think some of your regulars are around, but at the same time,
Mhm.
something that's helped me is like considering that people have their own lives too. And
Hmm.
people do get busy in their own
Yeah.
time, and it doesn't mean like they don't care about you. Maybe they have something going on, and the more you stream, the more you're back, the more maybe they'll catch you again and they'll be like, oh my god, I haven't seen you in so long. And
Yeah.
it's like those moments for me that make streaming worthwhile. It's just, talking to people that feel like very old friends or old connections and just catching up with them again. And I think um, just being able to stream more often will give those opportunities to come. And hopefully that comforts you too,
Mhm.
knowing that those people will return back in your life or that things will come back again the more you do it.
Yeah, I think being just going off from what everyone was mentioning, just like that fear of change, like learning to accept it. I mean, these are all learned traits. It's kind of rare for someone to come in going like full force, going like, I know what to expect, I know what's gonna happen. Like it's live streaming, so uh,
Mhm.
um, it's sorry, there's a shrimp in chat for Tina, and it just took me off guard for a little bit. Um, so so no, I like what Tina said was perfect. Of like, I was that curious question of like, if I was able to stream daily all the time, will it build an will it build an audience, or just like will it make me feel more confidence? Two different things, and like those are types of thinking when it comes to streaming, and there's no simple answer to it. Like for me, I've gone to like many hiatus. I have such an inconsistency, and I think someone once DM'd me going like, "Why are you so inconsistent?" I'm like,
Oh my god, really?
yeah.
God.
Oh
The
my god.
audacity.
I'm pretty sure they said it in like a nice. I not said it.
Mm.
They
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it was coming off in like a way of just curiosity.
Mm.
When it just comes off like that's the first message you send to someone, it's like, oh, okay, so that's such a loaded question. But I think it made me think in that moment. I'm like, well, I do love it, but it's not my full-time gig. It's like it's a hobby. It's a my
Mhm.
mental, like it helped me kind of express what it means to me. And then sometimes chat asks me like these really great questions like what gets you into streaming? Like all these little things it helps you navigate enough to understand like wait, this is why I do this. And like this is why it makes me happy. And like this is why I want to keep going even if it doesn't hit the expectations that people tend to unfortunately put on themselves. Like, yeah, you're not getting 100 views, but like I'm happy. Like I'm okay with that. Like you saw one person and like they used to see you all the time and then that viewer disappears, but they come back going like, "Hey, long time no see. Look all the changes. Look,
Mhm.
that's so amazing." That makes you like those are like, small little tidbits that can help boost a lot of that confidence. And I think Henry said too, like taking improv classes. I am a theater major myself. I know, so scary. Um, but like I took a lot of I think theater is what made me into this. I don't know what to call myself. I took the test several times. People it usually says I'm introverted. Sometimes it says I'm extroverted. At this point, I'm saying both, but like there's people who say like both don't really exist. I feel like I can be both. If not, too bad. Um,
I've heard that there could be like it's called
It's a
ambivert.
yeah.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
some people say, and the thing is like the argument is like, does it exist? Does it not exist? I'm not here to
Mm.
I'm not here to
We're not
debate
trying
it.
to argue.
I'm not here to debate that. It's just how I feel because like I do have my moments where I feel like I'm somewhat introverted, but like I do love like when I'm in a social gathering, I gain energy from the social gathering. But like the
Mhm.
minute that the social gathering dies down, I don't think I have enough energy to carry anymore. I'm like, I'm with you guys. Let's go to sleep on the ground right now. I'm gonna take a nap here. Um,
Mm.
and so like yeah, so I think it's like that balancing act in a sense of like just knowing yourself and like knowing what you need to do and like when you get these like tough things and being able to like kind of go with the moment like you might be streaming only to yourself and your cat, but at the end of the day, you're able to do it. You had the power and the confidence enough to press that button, and you will build something. Like even if it's not what you expect, I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, don't. I'm not saying to bring your expectations way down, but bring your expectation to a realistic point. Like I'm gonna stream for 3 days, and I'm just gonna try to finish this game. Like I think that's what I did. I was like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna play. I forgot what game it was. Was it Ace Attorney? Yeah, I was like. Not the best game to start with, just letting everyone know.
Yeah.
If you care about your mental health, don't start with Ace Attorney. I think I quickly gave that one up and was like, let me start a Pokemon game and try to like go as far as I can. And I did, and it worked out. And like, and then that's why I kept on going, building momentum, and now having people who like come and like look and go like, look, it's that one thing over there, Munchie. Yeah, I want to talk to him. I want to see him. I want to smell him. I'm like, yay! And
Ooh.
and I'm pretty sure we all have our own stories like that too. This is where you all agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I think another hot button topic I have been seeing is video games. And if you know video games like art, um, can that be therapeutic? Can that be good for your mental health? I don't. Weirdly enough, it was like a lot of things that people were talking about it. Um, And I just want to bring it up. Like, what do you like? What are some thoughts surrounding that when it comes to video games and art online, and how is that helpful or not?
Yes. I personally believe they are. Only certain games, of course. No one is gonna say, yes, Apex. I love this game.
Oh
It
god, it's so
makes it
relaxing.
relieves so much stress. Or like games like Call of Duty and etc. Like games like I'd say like Minecraft, Stardew Valley, or like Terraria. Like stuff that either you can play single player or multiplayer with friends. Something that can like um just like it's peaceful, nothing's gonna hurt you type of vibe, even though there are like in-game stuff that could happen. But other than that, you can like choose your own adventure type of thing. Or, if you're that type of person who wants to play like games like League of Legends, then yeah.
I'm dead. I play League to relax actually.
No, I'm sorry. It
I
used to
was
be
waiting.
it used to be my relaxing game, but
I mean I think
I'm
for me
stressed.
it's just cuz it's so like games for me are it's just a way for me to detach from my work cuz like my
Look, it's
life
Yeah.
understandable.
and
Mhm.
Everyone has
school
their own
is
thing.
just like my school I literally do art as like a school, a profession, a passion, everything. So I
Mhm.
need to get as far away as from it as possible if I want to relax, and for me that's just video games. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I'm that sweaty in League. I mean, if I am, then I feel like maybe that just releases more stress. I don't know, that's a copium take.
Hmm.
But for me, video games are a way of just stress relief. And of course, like I love those really chill farming type games too. But lately,
Mhm.
I feel like League and Mario Kart have been, even though those are hella sweaty games, like I've just been nonstop playing them because they're just really easy to like run through and gives you an excuse to hang out with your friends too,
Oh,
which
for
I think
sure.
Yeah.
also relieves your stress and just makes you
That's
happier.
that's like
Yeah.
I
Overwatch for me right now too.
Oh yeah, same.
Wait, sorry everyone. My phone disconnected in the middle of Tina's speech. I don't know why I called it a speech. We were just talking.
Is that
So
what
I didn't really hear much besides League of Legends and like mental health. Is that what we're
TLDR,
talking about?
yeah. TLDR, League, good for my mental.
Okay, good, good.
Said no
but
one
it may not be
ever.
for
Like,
others.
No, no, wait,
yeah.
Everyone has
wait.
their own thing.
Tina, this is gonna be weird.
Mm,
I'm so sorry. Same, actually.
oh my god, really?
Yes,
Okay,
I've
Wow.
been I've been
just
playing
not
League.
Nice.
me.
I've been playing League since that one spider character, Elise came out.
Elise?
Oh my
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
god.
and I've been and I first it was toxic, but then once my all the people I used to play with growing up left, I just started playing like for fun, and then ARM
Mm.
happened, and then from that I just kept on playing
Oh.
ARM and
Oh,
TFT for like
yeah.
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
happiness,
Yep.
because like no one takes that seriously. Like ranking to me,
Yeah.
if I have to rank, it's just because I want something. I want the awards from it. But other than
Yeah,
that, I'm
yeah.
not gonna. It's a thing. Also, I was just surprised you mentioned that, Tina, because like I know Sheffy buns and they hate League
Oop.
with passion. So I was just like, they will kiss the ground, the floor, the ground, the floor that you're on. But like you play League, so.
But I'm a League of Legends gamer. Oh no.
I
I-
haven't played League in so long.
but
Oh
Overwatch, I mean,
Oh
no.
man.
I think just from building off that, those video games, quote unquote, as toxic as the fandom can see them or not, um, for us, like for people like me and Tina, we find something good out of it. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
gives us a little bit of serotonin, or a lot. I'm not
Yeah.
here to judge. Um, Overwatch. You
Yeah.
mentioned Overwatch. How dare you? No, I'm kidding.
Huh? What do you mean?
No, nothing. We. I don't yuck anyone's yum.
I started with League.
Okay, fine. You're back in my graces.
Oh,
All right,
Heck
Hypo.
yeah.
Were you gonna say something?
I can. So like I was just kind of like relating to the pew pew equals good for mental. I used to solely avoid those. And I played a lot of farming sims and, turn-based strategy, stuff that you could, kind of turn your brain off, or you could take a break if you needed to. You can pause them. You know, that was like a big thing for me, is that if I wanted to feel relief, that I needed to be able to pause it. Um,
Mm.
but now I'm seeing the benefit of playing FPSs and multiplayer games, because for me, they provide more stimulation. Because I feel like I started to game less and
Hmm.
less because I was understimulated because of how chill the games I was playing were. So like it's a nice change of pace. And then I think, just kind of for the overarching question of like, is gaming good for mental health? I feel like it doesn't really depend as much on the game, but it depends on the balance. Because like
Mm.
yes, it can be, but too little, having too many other things that you're dipping your hands into can kind of make it feel like it's a chore because you're trying to squeeze it in, you know? And then doing it all the time is also bad. So I feel like yes, it can be as long as there's balance.
Yeah, and that's with streaming, and that's with all the little things that we also mention. The word of the day being balance. Make sure to use that word all day today, everyone. Um,
Yes.
Lemons, though.
Lemons.
we can't always set lemons sometimes.
Song.
um, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Anyone who loves lemons, I'm so sorry. But yeah, too much of anything, to be fair, can be bad. Like let's be honest, too much like
Yeah.
eating too much
Yeah.
carrots does turn your skin orange, like, or I think yellow actually.
Wait, what?
Um, it's a real thing. If you eat too much of one thing, like something like carrots, I mean like abundantly, like not just like I eat one every day. No, like you are consuming, devouring carrots. It will
Breakfast, lunch,
turn.
and dinner every.
It will like it will change your skin color. Um, I trust me, I'm a doctor. Okay, but
Really?
but that's like the same thing when it comes to doing video games. I'm pretty sure if me and Tina only exclusively every single day, daily, I mean daily, just played League of Legends, I'm pretty sure our mental wouldn't be in the
We'll be
Yeah.
best
mad.
place.
I would imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I see this in like gaming communities too. Like whenever you hear of League of Legends community or
Oh
like
God.
Valorant
Mhm.
community, it's never like a great
Yeah.
connotation, and I think it's because people are taking the game way too seriously or like making it their
Yes.
entire
Mhm.
life. Or I think it's different when it's your career, like when you're actually getting paid for it, then
Mhm.
it's different.
Hmm.
That's your job. That's what you have to do, and I'm sure like they have different ways of balancing their lives out. But if it's like a game that you're just playing to play, why are you stressing so much about it? I feel like it kind of defeats the purpose of video games a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when people quote unquote sweat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when they
Like
sweat
when
too
Yeah.
much.
yep. When I
Minimal sweat is
learned
okay.
yeah. When I
Yeah,
learned to
like
like
there's a
differentiate.
balance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
The key-
When
Balance, the key word for
yeah,
today.
we're not
balance.
yeah.
advertising not to sweat, guys. We
Lemons.
we need to sweat for our bodies like regulation. So do sweat. We're not
Yeah.
saying don't sweat. But also sweating in video games, if you are making it not fun for other people, at some point it's not gonna be fun for you either.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if you give someone bad energy, that energy is gonna be pushed back right into you, and then you're gonna end up hating the game. And that's what happens to a
Yeah.
lot
Mm,
of people. And
Yeah.
like the number
right.
one thing is this balancing, going like, you know what, I love playing this video game, but you will, if it's not just the people, you yourself, like let's say Stardew Valley. If you play too much Stardew Valley, and if you make Stardew Valley your personality, um,
Yeah.
Right.
it
It's gonna.
will
Yeah.
daunt on you, and then it starts becoming a risk to your mental health at that point because, like, besides escapism, it starts becoming like, now I can't sleep without feeding my sheep or something. I don't
Oh
know.
my god.
Anything else to add? Anyone else who hasn't talked? I'm sorry, my if everyone is hearing dings and stuff, my this computer I stole from someone is just acting up. So
Oh my. Oh no. Um.
and if you don't have a
Closest I
word to
didn't
say,
mention much.
okay, good.
Well, because I kind of get like everyone has their own sort of. It's again like the idea of. I think video games is good for to relax and unwind to,
Mm-hmm.
with the caveat of again balancing it out. You don't go overboard with it because
Mhm.
sometimes you can definitely get burnt out for sure. I've taken up to just shiny breeding in Pokemon because there's like a lot of monotony to it that lets me calm my brain down.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so
Right.
that's my go-to for it right now. And I can get like some people playing FPSs where that mechanically helps them sort of wind down their brain from like the manicness of like what maybe they may be dealing with and stuff like that. So everyone will find something mechanically like some of those games to sort of help them wind down because they know what they're doing, or in that sense. So it just puts them in that pattern.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, poor Henry. It's hard being a single mom hatching those eggs. I hear you. And that's also a stressor. But
Oh, that's also true.
it's hard breeding. Okay, never
Mhm.
mind. So, yeah, that's when things happen. That's like one thing to always watch out is that balance. If you do too much of one thing, it's great. And also just having little games that aren't like 100% sweat. Like hatching
Yeah.
eggs
Yeah.
isn't 100% sweat. Like I mentioned
Mhm.
Stardew Valley, that's not a sweaty game. Unless you make it sweaty. You can make anything sweaty to be fair.
You can.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
can
Um
make
true,
anything sweaty.
Yeah.
true.
but like some
I was
games
like,
don't some games just don't take a lot of effort, so it's good to you know take that and like just go like I'm just gonna play this one game to cool off. Like having and it doesn't have to be games. It can be art. It can be like I just did some intense illustrations. I'm just gonna doodle. I'm just gonna doodle for
Mhm.
myself. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna doodle some weird picture of a tree. And like that can be like a nice like a mental health break. Because I think a lot of just because like from coming from some the VTuber communities that I work in, and just not even the other like not just VTubers, artists like artists who stream. I hear a lot of like them talking about burnout and like artist block, all these little things, and that could be attributed to like finding out that balance of like maybe you looking at this one illustration for so long is causing you more stress than it really should, and like that's one of those moments of getting that break or like doing something else or like I think one thing I saw some streamers start doing is like they do art for a little bit and like, you know what? It's time to like play with ducks. It's time to like there's a weird duck game in Steam. Apparently, it's like rubber duck games. Like you can
I'm
just
on my way.
I don't
You
know
play
what
rubber
it's
ducks?
yeah, I
What?
don't it's weird. I don't know what it's called, but I know
Mhm.
it's like you get rubber ducks in a pool and like they just do nothing and like random things start happening to them. Like some of them catch on fire, some of
Huh?
them disappear.
What?
Yeah. I really don't know what it's called. It's real. I'm not crazy. Um, but I've seen some streamers play that game and it kind of like gives them like a little bit of serotonin, like, and they have it in a second screen. Like, all right, guys, my hand is cramping a little bit. Let's go look what the ducks are doing, and like they're doing something else
Oh.
every single like something is happening to them. It's like, all right, let's look for green. Like it's almost like an engagement thing, but like away from like that the content creation. I'm pretty sure in that moment that streamer is giving themselves like a nice mental break of like, let's look for ducks, like let's look for
Mhm.
something. I know some people also have like watering simulator games like where you have to like make sure your
Mm.
plants get enough moisture, things like that. These are real games. I've seen them. If not, someone can create them. You can take the credit. It's fine. But I think games like that are really good, especially for that balance. Because like sometimes if you are a full time league streamer or a full time artist,
Mm.
you need to find some things to like balance yourself out. Because like yes, you can keep playing that game, and yes, you can keep being that full time everything. But you should, make sure to give yourself some moments of like, you know what, I'm gonna just play Minesweeper. All right, so yep. Let's talk about two more topics, and then we can go into questions if anyone else has if anyone in the audience has any questions, just prep them up or have them ready. Note them down, tattoo them on you, just so you don't forget.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but the other topic that was mentioned is this is gonna be a fun one. Sleep, mental health, and sleep. Um, so you don't have to expose yourself if you don't want to, but we can just have a nice discussion about what a healthy sleep means to you. And I think before I let anyone else talk, I'll put my 2 cents in it from like what I've learned, just my experience with sleep. I did a sleep study when I was growing up because I had really strange lucid dreams that kind of like forced me awake a lot.
Mhm.
And then when doing that, I've learned to like that I can't sleep for too long. Um, and because of that, I balance out. I had to like learn how to balance my sleep, and I also did like sleep research in undergrad for a paper where I did the opposite of what I was supposed to do. I was like, I'm going to stay awake for 5 days and see what happens. The professor
Oh.
would not allow that because that was really bad for me. So he was like, at least 2 days and a half, and I did, and like I could see things like happening within my brain, which scattered me. So sleep, no matter what, it's important. And one thing I always tell everyone is that at least getting 2 hours of sleep is the it's like the bare minimum. um because I think one thing is telling people who have like a hard sleeping schedule is to like just sleep. Like you take 8 hours of sleep. That's not always realistic for people, but at least if you can take at least a good 2 hour sleep for yourself, it's enough. And that's
Mhm.
like my position on it, just from like my studies and like the research I've done. It's not concrete evidence. I'm not here going like it's that, but like it's just telling people like who come to you and go like I only get like 1 hour of sleep, or I don't sleep at all. It's like, you know, try aiming for a small goal of sleep.
Mhm.
Sorry, look, Tina's model looked like was sleeping for half seconds. Like Tina, I didn't mean now, Tina.
Uh, I think for me, like, it varies for everyone. I need to get a lot of sleep in order to feel very well rested, but that's not realistic most of the time. I do find myself to be a lot more irritable when I don't get enough sleep, though, and it just makes my brain function way worse. It makes me not want to do anything. So sleep is really, really, really important to me, and I'm trying to
Mhm.
prioritize that more. Um, Personally, for me, what's helped the most is exercising and then also melatonin. I have these melatonin jelly beans, and they're so good,
Ooh.
and they work so well. They knock me out. It's great.
No, and that's great because again, people's bodies are different, and sometimes you need a little extra support to actually go to sleep. Um,
Mhm.
I don't take melatonin. I used to, but then I stopped. And what I've learned to do to like kind of lull myself to sleep is I make up scenarios in my head. So like I kind of just start thinking or like play music in the background, like go like I'm gonna just like make a music video for this real quick, and like slowly but surely it knocks me out because like I
Mhm.
managed to like use that lucid dreaming or like that overact imagination that the sleeping doctor said I had to use. Like I'm using it in that moment, and then it slowly like puts me to sleep because now I'm tucking myself out. and like that's how it works for me. And like again, not works for everyone, and not a lot of people have an overactive imagination, but like that's something I do for myself. Anything else?
Um, so I think for me, I also have a weird relationship with sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an insomniac. Uh,
Oh.
and I have sleep apnea. Woo. So,
Oh.
for those that don't know, sleep apnea is where you just kind of like randomly stop breathing while you sleep.
Mm.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's really weird. And it was starting to cause a lot of negative symptoms while I was sleeping. Such as like I'd wake up because like my heart pumps hard when it realizes that I'm not breathing. So it's like, you know, so with all that, it's hard enough for me to want to sleep anyway because I'm an insomniac. And then I have negative experiences when I sleep sometimes because of the sleep apnea. So then I have sleep anxiety. So then I'm like,
Mm.
oh, well, if I fall asleep, that's going to happen and that feels really weird and I hate it. So then I get anxious. So I think that, like you said, Munchie, I have a very, more tailored to me kind of goal in terms of sleeping. Like 4 to 6 hours, I did a good job. If I get more than that, I did an excellent job. So, but yeah, and getting, not going to sleep is really dangerous for me physically and mentally. Really, again, because I have a personality disorder, and when you don't sleep, your brain doesn't work right,
Yeah.
especially if you have a disorder. So, I think sleep is one of those things where it's definitely better to get some sleep rather than no sleep. I have a lot of friends that kind of bargain with themselves where they're like, "Oh, well, I'm only going to get like an hour and a half, so I may as well not sleep." And it's like, "No, you should sleep."
Mm.
Hmm.
So I think that's
Yeah.
important to remember too.
Yeah, no, totally. And you can always fact check me on all the things I say. These are just things I did in my own research. If I had graphics to show you guys, I would think about it. But I mean, when I did the sleeping research thing, one of the things I found, I didn't one thing I found in my research is like if you do literally not sleep for a good amount of time, you start getting audio and like um, visual hallucinations. Um, you there's something called a second wind that ends up happening to you,
Mm.
and like it feels really strange because it seems like you're awake 100%. Like it looks like you took so much coffee and you're like kind of just running off literal fumes. And it's just a lot of things can happen. I think the most I experienced within like the 2 days and a half of me just like straight up not even like resting for a little bit was a little bit of auditory hallucination. Like I heard like noises that weren't like there, and I was like, oh no, that's not good. Then that's when
Yeah.
I stopped and I turned off the setting. I'm like, yeah, I'm not a guinea pig, let me not do that to people. Myself, I was a people. So and I think that's like the importance of like, even if you feel like you can only sleep for like 30 minutes or even less, that attempt is just really good because like at least if the minute that you're able to keep yourself some out sorry, my chair is weird. Some breathing, some breathing, some rest to yourself, um it could do wonders because like you got to give your brain some time to rest.
Mhm.
Right.
Like I'm a huge advocate for like sleep, but as of recently it has been not so good. But I always like meme about like uh because I normally go to bed at like 10 prior to recent times. Um but I always try to get the most sleep, but I always meme about anything past 12 is a different me. Like 12 or like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I'll like get weird, but also very irritated. Like it can get really bad.
All right, so two people have already admitted that they will just destroy the world if they don't get sleep. So if that's not enough evidence for you guys, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you share evidence to me, please.
um
um,
Oh man.
I can also second that that auditory hallucinations are not fun. Um, I actually wound up in a psych ward for that. Basically because I was going through a lot mentally. I was working myself to the core, working full time at a job, um, and not getting a lot of sleep. And I was working inside of this electronics store trying to like get it ready to open, and I just kept hearing people call my name. And it took me 20 minutes to realize that nobody was around me and nobody was calling my name. And yeah, it's a scary thing. Sleep is very important. Please get sleep.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
It's too late to take it back, Sheffy. Just letting you know. Um,
Uh,
um, no, but yeah, sleep is important. I think number one thing that we're saying. Henry, do you want to add anything about sleep that you have
yeah.
experienced or and has gone well for you?
Well, like Hype, I'm a bit of an insomniac in a way where I have trouble falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so I have to get myself in a ritual where I can shut my brain off and to get into that mode to sleep, which is where I mentioned Pokemon breeding earlier, which is usually when I do at night to help me like calm my brain down. And I
Uh-huh.
usually would set myself maybe an hour or two before I head to bed to do that. And it's terrible because the blue screen kind of strains you a bit. Like if you're just staring at your phone and stuff before you sleep, sort of not good for you. But it's
Mm-hmm.
sort of how I can deal with it. But like, so I would do that, and if it hits midnight, I absolutely have to shut off everything and just close my eyes and like try to get to sleep, because I know past that it might be kind of over. And then when I do, my body always wakes me up around the same time like clockwork, no matter when I go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So either like 6 or 7, like no matter when I sleep, I will wake up, and
Mm.
then it's like I'll just have to prepare myself for the day, or just stay in bed for a little longer if I'm not ready yet.
Um, no, I mean, I think I love that. I love the idea of like people count sheep, but you hatch eggs on Pokemon. I feel like
Yeah.
no, and I mean it sounds strange. I mean, it shouldn't sound strange. Look at us. Look at all of us right now. Nothing of that should sound strange. But lowering yourself or grounding yourself, again, the word grounding, before you do something like sleep is important. 'Cause sometimes some things that can keep you awake is the thoughts of life, is like
Right.
overstimulation. So finding ways to like make sure that that's not a thing that's kind of hitting you at that moment is good. It's a good way to ground yourself. And just doing like also that cutoff of like midnight. Again, just giving yourself like what, even if I may not get sleep, I'm gonna turn everything off and just like sit in my bed for a certain amount of time. And the hope is like you do eventually your body listens to you and like let's sleep.
Mhm.
um but it's a good thing to do. It's a good balancing, um because it's needed, but like sometimes your body is your body and your body doesn't want you to sleep. So but I think that's a really good thing when it comes to mental health, is just finding fun ways to like figure it out so you could get that rest. Even if your body wants it or not, you'll find a way. All right. Which is so funny. I'm themed after like a onesie that you would wear to sleep. Um, and one thing I tell people a lot is that I don't really do sleep, I do naps. Um, which I don't even do naps anymore. I used to. I used to be such an avid napper, but then I realized that that kind of pushed me out of my own sleeping time. So now I just actually do sleep more. But it took me a while to get there. I had to learn how to like properly sleep for 6 hours. And now I'm able to sleep 8 hours, but sometimes it's not easy to do. And like, I think um, one thing that was mentioned was it's a victory. If I was able to get 5 minutes or 5 minutes, 5 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep, that's a victory. I'm gonna celebrate. We're having ice cream for breakfast. Oh, and I think Sleep mentions sleep. Wow, Sleepy in the chat mentions something too. I sleep when I'm tired. That sound like a lot of people go like, "Oh yeah, of course sleep. You're tired." Sometimes it's hard to listen to your own body, and like sometimes you're not able to like listen to your own body, and sometimes your body does tell you, "Hey, I'm hungry. Hey, I'm sleepy," and sometimes you don't want to listen to it. So I think that
Right.
idea of like
Yeah.
listening to your own body, going like, you know what, I feel like I should go to the bathroom. Because my body's telling me, let me go to the bathroom. Like, oh, I feel actual hungry because my body is like telling me I'm hungry. Let me go eat. Some people don't actually stop and think about what their body wants because like we either follow a schedule too much or sometimes we have a hard time following that schedule. So I
Right.
think another good way to like find ways to like to find out where your balance is, where your lemons are, is to listen to your body.
The lemons.
Lemons
The
are
body
back.
knows the lemons.
Let's go.
New terminology. These are mental health terminologies that we're gonna be taking with us.
Lemons, balance.
All right, and to to segue into another list that we'll see if Tina's gonna add to their books, is food versus mental health, especially when it comes to streaming. So that's another hot button topic that I saw a lot on Twitter. This is me. You guys don't understand how much I scroll it on Twitter, going like, what are people talking about when it comes to streaming and mental health? And food was like number one, but I want to mention it. I want to mention the other things first before going into food. People's relationship with food and how it's like how it's helpful for your mental health. But like, what are some things you have done? Because I know I've struggled. Me and food have a rocky relationship. It's usually me, not them type of situation. We've broken up so many times. But we finally found like a decent place to like commit to each other. But that's like
Happy
something I had to
sweetheart.
work.
Mm.
Hmm.
Um,
Is it just me, or is it like really hard to? For me, it's so hard to take a break during stream, especially if it's to eat. And
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep.
Oh
yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
I
No.
feel
Yes.
like
I can
it's
go to
so
that.
hard. And if when I do eat on stream, I feel like I have to scarf it down just to get back
Yeah.
Oh.
to
Yeah.
what I'm
Right.
doing, and that kind
Yeah.
of impacts your mental because you're not really like taking the time to really, give
Like,
yourself that
mhm,
eating time.
Mhm.
And you're probably not eating the best thing too because you're just trying to eat for convenience sake to get back to your tasks.
mhm.
I
Yeah.
think like that's probably the only time that food gets really unhealthy for me is when I'm streaming and I have to eat, which is like the worst thing in the world. But like I just love food so much and I'm very passionate about it too. So it
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
makes me kind of sad to have to like do that. I don't know why my brain does that. Um but it's like very ritualistic for me. Like I have to eat like I have to plate my meals a certain way. I think for me my eyes eat first, so I always
Mhm.
try to make my food like very presentable just for myself, nobody else. Just to really enjoy myself. That's like my safe space where I feel most peaceful. So like it kind of disheartens me when I have to eat on stream because it's just you're eating for sustenance and you're eating just to like shut your body up, get back to your work. But if you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
eating because you genuinely like enjoy it, then
Yeah.
that's where it hurts.
God dang.
No, no,
We
it's
saw the same.
I'm
I did
ignoring
not read
that
chat.
because that's not good for my
Oh my
mental health.
god.
Um,
Oh
I
my
know.
god.
I just wanted to bring it up because I feel like everyone seems like every streamer seems to have the same
no,
relationship.
Tina, no, no.
No, no,
What
no,
you're
no, no,
saying,
No,
not
what
that, not
what
that.
you're saying,
What you're saying is fine.
what you're saying is great.
Oh,
Your shrimp chefy
I just
buns
I just
may
told
have
Don't read
oh,
chat. It's okay.
It just so happened that we caught it
I'm
right out
dead.
of the.
So if you have to blame anyone, blame Sheffy.
I'm dead.
No, but we heard you, and I think someone else mentioned. I think funny enough, it was the other bunch. I feel times I had dinner breaks during streams, and especially after a raid, I see the viewers count plummet. Looking at the count is not good for your mental health, and I don't think I mentioned it. I don't think we had a discussion about it, but we always can
Mhm.
about viewership. Um, but like and how that's not good for your mental health. But I think the biggest thing from that is like, you know, that what Tina says, like sometimes I just want to scarf the food down so I can just go back into streaming. And that I mean I've fallen for that too. I've like made I think insta food is like what I go for, like especially if my body's like yelling at me. Um and it's usually softer foods like won't make a crunch if I can like if I can
Mhm.
stop it. But those usually aren't really nutritious, and like you're really doing is you know, you're eating to survive at that point. You're not really eating to enjoy yourself. And eating to survive is great. I mean, we all got to do it. We got to survive. But you do need to sometimes enjoy and let the food like go where it needs to go and process it. And like finding that balance isn't 100% easy. What about y'all? What's your relationship with food when it comes to streaming and your mental?
Uh, as of recently, I think I've balanced it. But dude, I love food so much. But I totally understand the crunching part because I feel guilty if I'm like eating loud, even in like calls. Um, but for streaming, I'm like, either I have to go really far and it's gonna be so noticeable because my model will like shift the other way, and I'll be like talking from like a mile away. But um, but yeah, for like food in general, I usually like whenever I eat, I always just try to watch a video. So I'm trying to like implement it in my stream as like that's gonna be the break time. Either give it like a 30
Mm,
minutes or an hour. Like I'll
Right.
just put a YouTube video on stream or on the screen
Okay.
and we'll just do like a watch along.
Oh,
that
that's
sounds
so
really smart,
cute.
actually.
Yeah, that sounds smart.
Yeah. I have
Like
a friend that does that too.
Oh yeah, no, I have there's this one streamer who I watch a lot too, and they do implement that. They have the luxury of having a partner. And I know not all of us have roommates or partners, but they make dinner for them and bring them to them, especially when it's like the time they're supposed to eat. And but what they do during their chat or like for their chat for the engagement is you do a few things besides a poll that goes like, "Hey guys, what should we do for dinner break?" They do something really smart. It's either I think it's man in a pot, man on a pot. Something there's a man in a pot and they're cooking food. I know that sounded weird, but like that's what it's an ASMR-ish kind of food video on
Mm,
YouTube. They play that while they mute themselves and like, and they're a flesh tuber, so you can physically see them eat. But like,
Mhm.
you're also kind of engaged by them eating, but you're also engaged by that and like Chad Easy talking about himself and like, oh my god, I love the way he's like slammed that steak on the ground and like look at the way he's like sizzling those mushrooms. It's like
Mhm.
that's kind of engaging. Another thing that I'm seeing a lot of streamers do is incorporating a lot of Twitch integrated games like words on stream. Um,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
usually they're scarfing their spaghetti, not scarfing. They're nicely eating their spaghetti. I'm only saying scarfing because when I heard the word, like I can only think of someone like quickly like eating ramen. When someone says scarfing, it's like I'm gonna shove this whole food in my mouth. Like that's a lot. But what they do is like they put words on stream. Chat is going crazy, trying to get like the highest score, um, and doing that. And like of course that's their audience, and they might have the audience for that. And there's other ways to implement that. Like I think doing the video is smart. Doing things for yourself, or like in those moments, if you have someone to go to, like a friend, just can pop in and go like, "Hey, it's dinner time. Can we talk for 30 minutes?" Um, and again, it's like that moment you have to kind of realize I'm gonna be selfish for a little bit, and like
Yeah.
hopefully, and then the hope is like your audience starts working with you. And also, a really cool thing you could be doing with those dinner breaks is also reminding people to eat dinner too, to eat their food
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's in different worlds. Everyone's in like different worlds. Everyone's in different time zones. um, so it's always good to integrate that idea um, of like, oh man, you're making me hungry. It's like, good, be hungry. I hope I'm making you starving right now. Go get some food and like make sure you eat it. I mean, every time
I,
someone says my name, they get hungry, and I'm like, good. That's the idea.
Yeah.
I love that.
Um, I guess I can talk a little bit about my experiences with it. I think my experiences with it are a little unique because, like, one, um, I also agree with the whole like don't want to munch in chat's ear thing, you know?
Mhm.
So I tend to like mute myself and then I feel bad if I'm not entertaining. But then again, that also kind of, you know, I can get that dealt with because I'm one of those that'll typically have somebody in a VC with me.
Mhm.
So I'll be like, I'm gonna eat and mute myself and chat can talk to my guest, you know?
Yeah.
But I think I'm actually going to start implementing the whole like let's do something while I eat kind of thing. Because my relationship with food is directly at odds with like my health at the moment. Like I'm going through a lot mentally, but I'm also going through a lot physically. Like it's
Mhm.
to the point where I'm probably going to be having surgery to help me lose weight.
Mm.
Mm,
Mm.
So one of the things that I'm going to need to do is mindful eating, and Tina seems like she's an expert at that, so I might have to talk to her a little bit where, you really got to take your time with your food and make
mhm,
it like a very zen thing, so that because when you do that, you eat slower. So your body has time to realize that you're full and alert you before you overeat. there's a lot of benefits to doing what Tina does. And so I'm going to have to try to find a way to incorporate that so I can like slow myself down and still give myself what I need. But it's definitely going to be more important than ever that I get my meals afterwards. So it's actually something that I kind of want to implement relatively soon. I'm excited to see how that goes.
No, I love that.
Cool.
Any time you get a chance to change your relationship with food is super important. And it can be pretty daunting and scary, but like when you know it's needed or like it will make you a more like a more healthy person in a sense, it's always a good way to do it. It's always able to think that way. It's like, hey, if I change this aspect of myself because it might be what's slowing me down or causing me to feel a certain type of way or like it's not giving me the ooh sensation as the kids say. No, I don't know what that means. But it's just that good it's just that good thing to do is like changing those little aspects of like cool, I usually don't like eating on stream, but I also forgot to eat a meal today, so what we're gonna do today, chat, stick with me. Let's go watch my like my I guess VTube mom like stream for a little bit for like, and then I'll eat this like cup of ramen instead of like shoving it down. You're slowly eating it while chat is entertaining themselves in a way. I know another I think another tuber, I think they do Vroid, but like they are able to make dance compilations of like models that they work on, and when they want to have dinner or eat a snack, they implement these dance breaks. um
Oh, that's
um,
cool.
in between, and I think that's such a very creative way to like do that for yourselves. And like if you're able to find a way what that makes sense for your branding or your like, what you love to give to your audience when you want to have like those, I guess I'm saying food breaks, but they could be like mental health breaks too. Like you might be like feeling yourself a little bit or like maybe overstimulating yourself. So being able to like pause and like take a break without feeling that like sense of streamer guilt, it's very important. And I think like I said, words and streams, you can do a doodle board real quickly. I guess everything comes with like their own risk on when you do things like that. Um, and you can always just hope for the best. But if you know your community, you know your audience, usually things is there's a lot more understanding than sometimes we as streamers might give ourselves credit for. Anyone else want to talk about their relationship with food and streaming and mental health?
Well, I don't really have much to touch on it. The way I schedule my streams, I usually try to eat before then, so it sort of like gets me through it since it's tense. I tend to not have them run long. But if I do end up having the need to take a break or something, I try to make it clear with the chat and community, it's like we're gonna do this right now, so I hope you can bear with me, or if you want, then just come back sometime. I completely understand. And so, and yeah, like I don't know what else, because like I the fear of like just having the munch on mic is there, and having so I tend to just try to mute myself while we do it, or and it's pretty bad. But I would maybe like grab food like in between I do stuff and just go through it, which I'm trying to change myself. So I might try to implement more of like, yeah, let's do a block to take a break to eat instead of just trying to get stuff in between doing stuff.
Yeah, and you can always give your again how you build an audience going like, hey guys, if you're into foodie ASMR, I'm just gonna let you know I'm gonna bring that to you now because I get hungry and I'm gonna eat this pretzel in front of
Yeah,
everyone. And again, not everyone's into that, and like I think giving your people a trigger warning is such a smart thing to do.
right.
I love when streamers do that. I think more people should normalize giving trigger warnings because a lot of people do have their own things about triggers and glimmers. Again, I'm not here to debate anything. I just know that it's better to give people some heads up when it comes to certain things because everyone works differently. People don't like textures, people don't like sounds. I'm funny enough. The sound of munching isn't like my favorite thing in the world. Um, so, it's usually like if someone's like eating something like corn or like something hard, I don't have a problem. But if it's like mushy eating, um,
Oh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that gives me the
yeah.
heebie-jeebies, and I'm like, I have to give you like an exorcist or something because like you sound like there's something. It doesn't sound of this world to me. Um, But that's the thing. It's like I also still want to watch them. So when they do that, it's like okay, cool. Because like you can see them, especially any model or any VTuber or Flash tuber when they eat, you can kind of tell unless they pause their camera. And then like you can like always mute them and like still enjoy what they're doing. Especially if you taking a break, take your break yourself. Like oh my favorite streamer just took a break. Cool. I'm gonna go read the news or I don't know why that's my first thing. I don't know what I'm young, I promise. So, um, but like go eat yourself, go prepare something. Like you can always use those opportunities. Um, and like again, this especially if you give someone trigger warnings, like especially like it doesn't just have to be for anything too big. It's like, hey guys, I'm gonna give us an ad in 5 minutes, so brace yourself. Let me know what kind of ad is happening, like things like that. Like small little things can be very beneficial, especially if you have a fear that people might take it the wrong way, or you just don't want to give them like make feel like if you don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. Those are good things to do. Safe and sip. Okay, everyone drink water right now.
Oh, I just
Oh.
did.
Good, good. I believe you. You don't have to prove it. Um, Also, don't do that. Don't do the weird proving things. Like, oh, here's water. I'm proving I'm drinking it. Or like, I have to go to the pee. It's like, okay, prove it. Okay, cool. Everyone go and have a toilet stream. No, let's not do
Oh
that.
my god.
Yeah.
Something that my chat will do sometimes is like gulp. I'm like, what?
What?
They want to make sure you actually
What?
drink. No, and that's
Yeah.
cute. That's cute. And I think that's part of the setting boundaries thing sometimes is that that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask, but I think I can bring it up now is that sometimes in chat and sometimes in other people's chats, we do get people having a worry for a lot of people, the streamers' mental health. And I think in both ways, yes, it's good, but it's also good to like set that boundaries of like, hey, I know if I say the words I'm tired or like, oh, my hand hurts a little bit or like, oh, I'm starving, like things like that. Um, it sounds concerning, but like I know my own lemons and I know how much I can take them.
Yeah, you do.
And I know how much how far I can take them. So don't worry too much about me. I think a lot of adding those like disclaimers are important. Do you guys feel the same way? If not, tell me in
Mhm.
30 words or less. I'm kidding. Just tell me. Ooh, it's a too hot question, isn't it? I mean, I guess
Hmm.
one thing is if you are okay with sharing it, have you had a moment where like chat may have been too much if you said like one thing or like that they care but you feel kind of uncomfortable by it? And has there been a way you have dealt with it in the future or like, things like that?
I can think of one.
Hmm.
So, I had a viewer a while back that was so parasocially oriented that I had to ban them for a significant amount of time.
Oh.
Um,
Mm.
and like they are now back, but that was like the one and only time I have actually had to do that. It was kind of to the point where it was like, can I join? Can I join? Can I join for like everything? Or, can I hop in the call? Or, can you hang out with me offline, and stuff like that. And it was hard for me at the time to be able to form and set those boundaries. And
Mhm.
they also had mental health issues that kind of, you know, limited them in terms of like their way to understand where I was coming from. So I just had to ban them
Hmm.
until such a time came where, she approached me like a year later, I think, and was like, I think I understand what I did wrong now, and if you can let me come back, I think I'm ready to try again. And you know, that was really wholesome, and it came full circle, and I was really happy that it ended that way because I feel like a lot of
Mhm.
streamers it ends the opposite way. Where it's like it either becomes worse in the term where it goes from parasocial to kind of dangerously, kind of like stalkish kind of behavior,
Yeah.
or it gets to the point where that person just never comes back around and they just continue to go around and do it to other streamers. So,
Yeah.
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 Thank you for letting me share. I don't know. That instance
No.
just came up in my mind immediately.
And I mean that I didn't mention it. Like I didn't mention things like that, but that's an actual like besides just like people going like, "No, drink water, chug it, drown." Like I know you're not drinking
Yeah.
the water. Um,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be like that. It can be as simple as like someone just really wanting your attention and like
Yes.
feeling like you have this really strong connection and just being able to let them know is like, "Hey, I love that you love me, and I love that you love coming here
Mhm.
into the stream, but like you have to define that. It's like you know we got to start slow, and I think that's just realistic with anyone. It's like if I see you around the community, that's great, and then when I do have community game night, you can join in, but it doesn't have it's
Mhm.
not an everyday thing. Sometimes I gotta do my own things, and just being able to
Right.
explain that um is not the easiest thing to do because sometimes it feels kind of weird. But something important to
Yeah.
notice is that some people will try to cross those lines and whatever. Again, I'm not here to talk about like what parasocial is and what it like the boundaries, all those things. Not there's no debating there. Or there is debating there, but like we're not gonna do
Mhm.
it, because that's not that's not what we're here for. It's more understanding of like when things like that do happen, like when there's uncomfortable interactions happen, and how to
Mhm.
deal with them. And I think that story showcased a very wholesome view of that, of like someone coming back and like because you gave them another chance and like kind of understanding, going like, well, I get it. I can see what I did wrong, and like that's usually what we want. I think a lot of streamers want that, want that like yes. It's like someone
Growth.
learned from their lesson, growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ignore brown guy. So, but but it's just that it's like being into like being having that conversation, and then if someone goes like mention this one thing or tell me like where you when they start crossing those boundaries, being
Mhm.
able to quickly shut it down. I mean, as you can see, I do everything in a joke, so sometimes it can come off the wrong way, or sometimes it can come off like a non-serious way. And like
Mhm.
then if I have to be slightly firm, I can do it. I used to have my mods do it for me, but I've learned myself going like, you know what? If this person is making me feel uncomfortable, I hoping that I can mention to them and they will understand. I know sometimes these are if a mod steps in, especially if you have a larger group or larger eyes on you. Uh, Larger eyes, a large group of people watching you, not giant eyes. If that's happening, you're allowed to scream and have anxiety over that. But like being able to tell people or tell people around you or like your own friends, like, hey, this person making uncomfortable. What should I do? Is 100% a thing you should do. Because unfortunately, sometimes if you handle it yourself, or if you ignore it, or if you try to talk to this person too much, it might again cross and blur those lines.
Mhm.
And again from just what I've experienced when I tried to act when I accidentally crossed those lines without really knowing because I thought I was just talking to them, going like they were just asking like very like generic questions and I was answering them and like
Mhm.
and then it turned out like they thought I was like their best friend. I'm like what? Wait,
Yeah.
I was like, well, I don't remember
Oh
us
my.
having this best friend conversation, and it felt like a lot. But also didn't want to like make the person feel horrible about themselves. But and it
Mhm.
was an age thing too. I think they informed me what their actual age was, and was like, "Whoa, hold it there. First thing, you're not even supposed to be on this Discord." Um, and first thing, you're not even supposed to be watching my streams. And being able
Mhm.
to explain that and hoping that they walk away. And sometimes I found that they have walked away, and sometimes they don't, and then try to make your life kind of insane. And that's when you bring other people. I think besides
Mhm.
boundary setting, understanding that you are not alone and people, especially other content creators and streamers, might understand what you're going through and be able to give you some helpful suggestions that, hopefully we're also be able to give you as well within like this podcast. I
Oh
know that
man.
felt like an ending, but you can say more things.
No, I had a similar situation, but it did not end in growth whatsoever.
Mm,
um,
Oh, that's so sad.
but it was weird because this was like when I had started to grow on Twitch and like the viewership would get like higher. Definitely had like my fair share of like awkward encounters. This one being where I actually had to set lemons and boundaries and like
Lemons. Yeah.
just like had my mods help me out. It's like, oh, this person is like acting weird towards you, and it's getting like kind of weird for chat as well. So I'm like, I didn't notice it at first, and then when I took a step back and then streamed the next day, I'm like, okay, I see what they mean. And so they had to help me out and like tell them like this is like very awkward, it's not good. And it's gotten to the point where like they since my Instagram is public, they DM me on Instagram. I'm like, I don't really respond, but it's gone to the point where it's also like affecting chats. Like, oh yeah, I DM'd you on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, not the right time or place for this, but but it's gone to like weirder points, and I'm like, no, I can't take this as a person. I'm like, no. I had to cut it, sadly, but like no new accounts were made to say sorry or like I crossed the line. It's like I wanted that to happen, but yeah, I really hope no one else had experienced that.
Um, I mean, yeah, and that's the hope that again, things don't go that far. Things don't go to like that very uncomfortable territory. And just from like what I've seen around Twitter, there tends to be that boundary break a few times, and I think it's all up to how you're able to handle it. And like I said, you're not alone. You can find support, and like you can have other people try to help you out when situations like that get there. And of course, I think the easiest thing anyone can say is like try to stop it before it starts. Not the easiest thing to do, and sometimes people read in between the lines wrong. And I think something I just saw in chat from the very intelligent and amazing the brown guy 98. But like in all seriousness, there are limits and there are differences for everyone, and people need to learn to identify and understand them.
Yes, that
um,
that that's really good. Like, cause I've noticed that a lot of times when you try to set boundaries, especially with people on the internet, it just kind of seems like because we're so connected, people don't understand limits. And
Hmm.
like I
Hmm.
think like I've had to try to set a boundary and the person will be like, "Well, that's not a boundary that I would need, so you shouldn't need it either, so I don't accept your boundary." And I'm like, "But that's not how that works. Like I'm a
Right.
different person. Just
Yeah.
because it doesn't bother you doesn't mean it doesn't bother me."
I
no,
think
and that's amazing. Yeah, Tina.
this kind of reminds me of like when people are playfully bullying you in chat
Mm,
and you having to
Yeah.
set that
Hmm.
limit, because I think there's a like a certain point where it gets a little too much, especially if you don't know that person, especially if they're not like close to you or your friend,
Yeah.
and it starts to make people uncomfortable. That's like when you gotta put your foot down and be like, hey, yo, I don't like this. Because there's been moments where, for me personally, like I am a sensitive person, but I do love to joke around a lot. I think there's been some people that have came in and they joke and they say mean things and I laugh it off, but like to a certain point it does start to hurt a lot, and then I just like
Hmm.
tell them straight up like, hey, can you chill out? It's starting to really hurt my feelings. So just being upfront about your feelings is really important too. Like you don't have to take shiz from anyone. You're a bad beast. Remember
Yeah.
that.
at this point, you're saying words at this point. How dare you, Tina?
Like I might need to save this audio for later, man. Just Tina's wisdom. Like I need it in my day-to-day life.
Straight preaching.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No, it's an amazing wisdom, and I'm pretty sure, Tina, it's coming from things that you've experienced that you've learned upon, right?
Mm,
And that's the thing. I always hated saying it to people. Like sometimes you have to go through a struggle to learn.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't, but like I think being able to take those negative things and turning it into a learning moment, as hard as it can be, is technically something you can learn to do, but it's something you shouldn't be scared to do because, hey, being able to turn anything into a learning moment for yourself can help with like, the self discovery and be able to learn more about your own identity. Because it's true, those boundaries. I mean, I think I was a person who used to be able, who used to do that. Where, like I said, I'm an incel comic. I like, I guess I wouldn't say the word bully, but I like to sometimes joke around with people, and like I've learned to now properly, and this was like before, like I think I'm able to do it a bit better now, and sometimes I have my moments, and sometimes people say, and I'm happy that people are able to let me know now that like, hey, I think what you said was a little too much. And I'm like, yes, thank you. I That's what I needed, because like sometimes you don't know, sometimes you don't hear yourself. And I think those limits, I mean lemons, are very important to hit. Like what I do now is like, I say things, and if someone laughs, go for it. Like I talk a little bit more nonsensical instead of just, it makes no sense like when you first meet someone going like, ha, your breath smells and you're stinky, and you're like, your mom never liked you. Like I can't really go full. You can't say things like that, guys. Come on, that's not. You just met them. Like you just entered. This is like their first time ever chatting in your chat, and the first thing you say is like, "Wow, I can see why you're a VTuber. Haha, probably has
Oh,
pimples all over their ankles." You know,
Mm. Mhm.
and I mean, understanding and telling people like, "Hey, like I think Brown Kai mentioned it a little bit. He like aggressively first with me. But we also had this like type of conversation where like it's a joke, like we're joking at each other. Um, and especially the way I act, because like I know Brown Guy doesn't like tsundere people, and like usually when they do things like that, I'm like, "Wow, you're ugly." And so it's like a nice back and forth, and like I bring it to myself too. I have this outfit, you see this cute little outfit. I have another outfit that has the literal words "boink me" on it, and on it, so that would bring certain types of people and attention to it, and be able to like push and pull that, going like you can a little bit of flirting is great, but if it comes aggressive and like starts becoming a little bit like, hey, this is a Wendy's, calm down, you stop it, you bring it, you bring it to a nice stop, going like, yeah, we're I don't know you enough, and $5, like, you just have to be able to like take it down, and it can be any way, being serious, being joking. You just gotta find that way and find that balance, because like, yeah, what Tina alluded to is, making sure you have those walls built up enough, people go like, yes, we love you, we love the content you create, but like, don't just call me ugly piggy face, like, what?
Mhm.
All right, so I think that was some good topics that we talked about. I do have some questions that we can more questions. I did go into the questions a little bit, but we can go into other questions I have written, that I just skewed around for like my own self and like other on Twitter. But if anyone else has a question in chat, you can just at Munchie, me, hi, and ask us that question. Um, that isn't a question, but I just saw what the message is. The Weeb community have a really beautiful, colorful language. Okay. No one said anything important. Pigs are cute, aren't they? That's not okay. It has to be mental health related, everyone. I know I'm adorable, but like we can't just talk about that. I'm pretty sure Sheffy would never allow me to host again. um, but I mean, if to get people like thinking about any questions that they want to say, um, the inside joke, you said things.
I know this might be like a little unorthodox, but like I have a question for everybody in
No,
chat
go
too.
for it.
I just wanted to, just kind of gauge, since we're here and we're talking about mental health, um, is anybody in therapy actively? If you're willing to share. I
Yes,
am.
me too.
me too. Let's go.
Let's go, therapy gang.
Let's go there again.
Therapy gang. I just thought that that was something that was not missing, pejoratively, but missing like, oh, we can't forget to talk about therapy. So I figured we could maybe.
Mm.
No, excellent. Again, these are great things. That was one of the questions about like, do you? I didn't write it exactly. It was more like, what does therapy mean to you? To you. But the going to therapy isn't one thing. I went to therapy when I was younger. I stopped for a good amount of time, and then I go again because, for the degree that I'm working on, I have to get at least 20 hours of therapy with an actual licensed counselor. And I went again, and like, and I think me mentioning going again because I feel like I didn't really need it in certain times. Just having someone to talk to is so helpful. Like I may not think in that moment, and like we still don't really have any deep discussions about anything I'm going through. I think one thing the therapist says, like, yeah, I can see that you're you're a psychology student because you already know what your thing is, like what you're going through, and like you're finding ways to fix it. Um, but and I told him like, well, that's the funny thing is like coming here and talking to you about my things, even if I already kind of know what the solution is so helpful because sometimes hearing yourself say it, like hearing yourself going like,
Yes.
ooh, yeah, I like me and like me and eating, like I was having such a hard time with it. But now I found doing this and this is like sometimes hearing yourself, like you kind of are first thing proud of yourself for saying it, and like being able to tell tell someone who doesn't know much about you, because like most therapists are neutral until you inform them. Um, about all the things that you went through and the things that you usually get back from the therapist are just pretty validating. Like it helps you kind of like see that perspective. So that's what I find therapy very happy. Yes, I had to do it for my courses, but like just revisiting it now that I'm not a kid anymore is pretty helpful because like hearing myself and like hearing someone else's suggestions and like how they kind of see life too is pretty good because like the minute you talk with a therapist, sometimes they disclose things and like, wow, I'm not the one going through it. That's really great to hear.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. Like I've been in regular therapy for a few years now with the same therapist, and I have to say like finding a good fit for those of you guys in the chat that are having trouble, like it can be excruciating looking for the right fit. I think I've seen 12 therapists
Hmm.
in the course of my life. And the one that I have been with the longest, I've actually seen the growth and the change. And it is so great to have someone just to talk to. Some sessions are really just me feeling like I'm talking to a neutral friend,
Yeah.
you know? Like it's like a no stakes relationship and it's really nice, you know? And then of course when I am struggling, it I like having somebody that loves me in a professional way so they're willing to call me on things. Like if I'm over rationalizing something, making connections that aren't there. Like stuff like that. If I'm, making a situation bigger than it should be, like it's bigger in my mind than it is in reality. So having a third party there that isn't going to shy away from doing that because they're scared of offending me because it's their literal job to do so. Oh, it's so helpful.
No, yeah, I hear that. I'm seeing in chat something that I've experienced myself, and I've also almost been explained to like about that adversity when it comes to therapy. And it's that like, yeah, I think one thing that we touched upon is like finding that one therapist that's right for you. It's not the easiest job, it's not the easiest thing to do, and it can be pretty scary too, going like, darn, I've been through so many therapists and I feel like nothing has like, no one's like been able to connect with me. It's not an easy thing to do. And I think someone mentioned can't talk. I think that's also a very valid reason. And funny enough, I don't specialize just in talk therapy. Uh, special. I'm not just specializing. Sorry, I haven't gotten my license yet. But specializing in talk therapy. I specialize in drama therapy, which means that I use theater techniques to be able to
Oh.
help people get through a lot of things that they can't just vocalize. Other therapies that I work with, especially within this graduate class, is art therapy, dance therapy, and expressive therapy, which all involve non-talking ways to be able to like communicate. Like it's literally in a session, you and your therapist are just painting or doodling together, and you don't have to talk, you don't have to mention, and sometimes you may end up finding yourself talking while you're doing painting. Same thing with movement. Like the therapist would go like, "Hey, get a song from your playlist and just start dancing to it." Like it just like tone like and usually it opens you up a little bit. It helps you kind of feel a bit more comfortable because like now like you're doing something that you relate to, especially if you're more on the creative side, or like if you want to know more about the creative side, because like I didn't think there's dance therapy
Mm.
wouldn't have fun. I got to do some um a workshop with it, and like it felt great. I was like, oh my god, I didn't think dancing would have been this great. It's not just for K-pop idols. I can do it too. Um, so it says that. I think a lot of people don't always know that there's different forms of therapy you can enter, and it doesn't have to be a one person thing. There's group therapists out there. So if you feel like you work better within a group setting of people who are like minded or have some of the same things that you're going through, group therapy can really helpful. So that's not me answering any questions. It's me. I saw chat having like that thing of like maybe it doesn't work well, or like I'm scared to, or like I just don't want to talk. You don't have to. There's other options out there that
Yeah,
can still be
Yeah.
therapy, but just not the ones that we feel like we know.
Yeah.
yeah. So like I haven't gone to therapy, and I feel like I really should look into finding someone to help talk through. But like at the moment, for me to try to get through things, I use a form of like music therapy, since music means a lot to me, and I love singing. So
Yeah.
so like every time I would feel down, I just need that time. I would just put up a song and just wail because it just makes me feel better, and just
Yeah.
even if it's just for myself.
I know, I love that. And some from what I've heard and got to experience at some of the workshops is that some some music therapists have said that they just had karaoke night during the
Yes.
session. Like
Yeah.
they're like the session was like an hour or 2 hours, so like let's just do karaoke. It's like because like I think he said one of his clients came in very just agitated and but didn't really know what words to place in what was causing this agitation. So the therapist was like, you know what? Let's just get some karaoke, pick some of the songs, and like he allowed him to pick songs that I guess most therapy would be like, oh, that's kind of obscene. It's like, no, pick what you're feeling. Pick whatever you're feeling, and
Right.
just sing it, and we'll sing it together. Or you can sing it yourself, and I'll sing what songs that make me I listen to when I'm upset too, and like that. And that was the thing. It's like, oh my god, karaoke and therapy. What is that? That's insane. How dare you? But like, that's so like I think you just attested to that, Henry. Like it's therapeutic just wailing on that mic, like just putting your feelings out there, not caring
Yeah.
if if you're professionally trained or not. It's like, no, music is my passion. I want to do it, and like it's giving me something.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Um oh yeah, just like a little aside.
Hmm.
Um multiple types of therapy. If you can do it time-wise, money-wise, whatever, that's also an option for
Right.
people.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so I do individual and group,
Mm.
and I'm looking to start doing art after my group is over.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No, I love that, and yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah, of different forms of therapy. Um, having just a talk therapy session sometimes, and then like going like I need to do this type of therapy. And of course, money and like time does factor into it, but most times not. Sometimes, especially if you look for help or find sources for like you needing this, you're able to find it. And again, there's always free clinics and free telephone and telehealth calls you can use. Um, so and like some of those aren't ideal, but that's something like that's a good place to try, especially if you have anxiety seeing someone face to face. um Especially if you are someone who like feels more comfortable on the internet, having those telehealth conversations can feel a bit more easier to talk to than seeing someone's face. Like you will still see someone's face but through a computer screen, and sometimes that's more comforting, and that's okay. Like it's 100% okay if you have an anxiety or are allergic to people. I think having being able to have a conversation online is really helpful. Um, right? I feel like I feel like that's a another way to see therapy that doesn't just have to be interpersonal face to face. If you want that, you
Mm.
can go seek it. But like if you feel like just to try it, let me just do some telehealth sessions if like that's allowed, or like you're finding a clinic or a place that does that, just to give it a try. Sometimes if it can just be a phone call conversation with your therapist, and it can do wonders.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, I still saw someone mention about like that they get a bunch of questions thrown at them, and I think that's one of the downsides when it comes to like I guess the starting point in therapy, to be able to get information for you, or like understand which direction things have to go, and especially if they work for a company. I think that's what they call an intake. They have to ask you so many like very neutral and maybe not so personal questions, and that can be a really big like turn off for a lot of people. So I get that. Like in most of the time, and I'm hoping it's just like that one time you meet them, and like it's not. I wouldn't even call that a real session. That's just like I think session zero would be like I have to gather a bunch of information for insurance purposes or for like for personal purposes or for company purposes, and hoping a lot of therapists usually tell you, hey, this first session I do want to get to know you, but I do have to ask a bunch of like very boring questions, and I hope that's okay. They usually should be throwing that disclaimer. Sometimes they don't, but I think it's just a good thing to have in your mind, especially if you are thinking or starting or like, or maybe have that sphere of being asked so many questions, and also bringing that up, going like, "Hey, I'm not really a person who gets like takes being questioned easily, and they're able to like hopefully accommodate you." But yeah, usually that's what I think happens. Usually, session zero is like they do this little intake and they ask you tons and tons of questions that you may or may not be ready to answer. So, good thing to know. All right. So, I think we can start slowly winding down. So I think it's a good place to open up for you guys, not just chat, but like also oh, everyone who's here. Um, if you have any questions for each other, or just questions for chat, or just things that you want to mention, just in general. You only have like 5 seconds, so no, I'm kidding. Well, let
The
me just make
pressure
the
is
anxiety go
on.
up. Um,
Mm,
it doesn't have to be anything too intricate. It doesn't have to be anything too big. We talked about, I think, a plethora of subjects already. But if there's any little thing that you feel like we should mention, like we just did with a whole therapy thing, mention it. Feel free. Um, Again, anything to do with mental health to give to ourselves and each other is amazing. I think one thing I can say that I have written down is we talked about sleep, we talked about food, um, but I didn't we didn't really mention um what a healthy mental health looks like for you, as like to you personally, like what mental health really means to you, and what you're striving to do. Like, it doesn't have to be now. Let's be let's be realistic. Um, what are some goals mental health wise that you're reaching to? I think it's a better way to word that question. And I can start if no one really is ready to answer that question. But for me, some of the goals I'm working for when it comes to mental health is, besides balancing it, is being able to schedule out more times to actually take actual breathers that involves disconnecting
mm,
from the internet for a little bit. And a long term goal I'm working on is be able to go on more like mental health walks. And what that means is just like going on like these long little hikes, and just like wandering around and about, instead of just thinking about like I want to get to like this and that. And then I think one other thing when it comes to like just streaming in general is being able to not put too much pressure on my content creation, um when I feel like it's making me upset. Like I should creating content should be for happiness and for me and for entertainment, and it shouldn't be making me upset. So when it does, being able to put the brakes on that, going like, "Oop, I got to take a me day." Those are some things I'm striving for. What about y'all? You guys have any goals?
Mm, I think currently, right now, I think with everything that's so hectic in my life, with school and whatnot, a good mental health for me means being able to sleep as much as my body needs to,
Hmm.
and seeing myself eat healthier, and just being able to have more energy. I think energy is a good reflection of a good
mm,
mental, because when you're happier, when your mental is good, you generally have enough energy to either socialize or be productive. Um, but when your mental is not looking so hot, it reflects in your energy and your motivation. So for me, I just want to I guess sneak in little breaks or more time for myself aside from all of my work, just so I can have that breathing time, so that I can feel more motivated in the end. So I can have that breathing time.
No, and that's those are some amazing goals, and I mean I already feel like you're already on your good path with all the great things that you suggested that you're doing for yourself and that you said to us, and you
Mhm.
even threw up some really good words that we're gonna use now within our life.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. I feel like in terms of goals, like my big goal is another hot word for this podcast is balance.
Yeah.
I think that is my main struggle. So I think that's also going to be my main goal is
Mm.
to just find more balance between my stream life and my home life, my social life and my me time, like doing things that fulfill me, not just my friends. So it's like that's where I think I'm at. I want to keep seeing my therapist and maintain that stability because this is the longest stretch of time that I've been relatively stable, and I want to keep that going. So I think, you know, my big goal is to get somewhere a little more balanced. I know that just it's so repeaty, but yeah, that's probably my main goal.
No, repetition is amazing. I think we devalue it sometimes, but if you repeat something to yourself, more than likely you'll end up doing it. What about you two? Any goals, long term, short term? You just made up in the spot.
Well,
It's hard to
me
think, but
personally, yeah, it's for me. I'm trying to get more comfortable with myself,
Hmm.
so I can trust a bit others too. Since I tend to like not bother other people, and I want to be better at sort of reaching out to others and like, hey, let's do this or something like that, instead of just like, saying, oh, but what if they don't want? Oh, or what if they think I'm a bother? So, trying to build up that confidence just uh, to move forward is something I'm trying to work on for myself.
No, yeah,
Mm.
and that's amazing. I think confidence is key, and if you know that you yourself are a work in progress, which realistically speaking, we're all a work in progress.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think anyone I know so far from this dimension has fully discovered everything about themselves and is like 100% okay with all the things that they do. So, no, Henry, I think that's a really great goal, being able to like, be comfortable with myself. I want to know like where my limits are yet. Because sometimes you don't know, and I think being able to like have that conversation with yourself is important. And Elvin. If you have nothing, if you aren't able to think
no,
of anything, it's 100% okay.
I don't know.
Um, I it's not putting anyone on the spot, but it's just like small things that you have been currently
Mhm.
working on, or like maybe want to start thinking about that you got from just like this conversation, or just things that you always had thoughts about.
Yeah, like I recently got laid off, but like thinking about it and like self-worth being very like prominent for me, it's like am I really like worth it as like a graphic designer? Can I keep doing it? It's like it's affecting me, but growing and like trying to grow is like one of the things that I want to do, along with like stop like blaming myself a
Mm.
Mm,
lot
yeah.
for like either relationships or friendships as well. Like I always end up taking 100% of the blame, but I know it's always like either it's always gonna be like 50-50 because it just works both ways. And I always just end up taking the full brunt of it because that's just who I am, but I need to stop.
And that's so real. I know I have my inner demons with myself, and I'm like, this is my fault. I did this all to myself. If the world ended right now, it's because of me. It was me. I pressed the button. I did it. Um,
Yeah.
and it's hard to like stop that from being a thing.
Oh, yes.
And I did for myself is be able to like look at the bigger picture, going like, realistically speaking, it happened. The things that happen, and if I don't want it to happen in the future, I just gotta work on myself a little bit more and like know that like, maybe next time just don't do that. Like, and that's why I have like limit myself now with certain things, going like, um if this game is not a game I like, I'm gonna stop playing it. If other people like it, I love that for them, but it's making me not happy.
Right.
It's making me not
Mhm.
feel like I want to do this anymore. Let me turn that off. And being able to explain that to anyone who, like, if they ever ask me like, hey, why didn't you finish this one game? So I'm like, I don't think it was for me. I found some aspects of it fun, but I just didn't. I just don't think it's for me. And being able to say that to yourself is sometimes like the best thing. Going like, it's okay. It's like it's okay if it didn't work out. It's okay if I did something that I feel like made someone uncomfortable. Because at the end of the day, if I keep just thinking at it, it's like, almost like picking a scab. If I keep picking at it, it's not
Mhm.
gonna heal.
Yeah.
All right. And does anyone have any last mentions before we go find someone else to raid and end our mental health conversation? Nod if yes, no. Nod if
Mm.
no.
um, I think like another I just have like a thought. I'm just like this this right here, the podcast, this episode in general reminds me and it's making me feel validated and I made the right choice in a stream team. Like
Mm.
like stream teams
Yeah.
that are willing to like spread awareness of stuff like this, it makes me feel less stigmatized against, you know?
Mhm.
Like I felt
Mhm.
100% comfortable talking to you guys about the fact that I've been in a mental hospital, you know, that I've had hallucinations, that I'm in therapy, and it's just a great thing. And I'm glad that there are communities out there like this.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yes, definitely. I'm very glad that I was able to run into Rice Bone V Dunbury at such a time in my life. So it's been very, very helpful and great to see like some like-minded people. The minute I saw this was a topic, I had to jump on it too because it's very important.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I have the same sentiments when it comes to Rice Bowl. I had to fight tooth and nail to get into this stream team, so I'm happy I was able to. You don't want to know what that means. I had to have like a 1v1 with Chefy Buns on like Siege or something. Okay. No, and also hosting this, I was extremely nervous. The person who like suggested it was the one and only Rhubarb. Um, and I think just because I look back to like the mental health part, me and Rhubarb used to have like these like mental health conversations after I think we used to play like League. I used to force him to play League because I'm an awful person. And and at the end of it, we would just like have these like long like conversations about ourselves and and at that time I didn't understand how helpful that was for me. Like looking back at it, I'm like, those times I had were so lovely. And again, Rue is someone from from the stream team that I got to meet and get really close to. And I know all of us have found someone, or just the whole Rice or the whole team to make us feel comfortable. And like this could itself is like another mental health benefit, being able to find a community that you feel safe in. It's a rarity nowadays.
For sure.
It is,
Yeah.
Mm.
for sure.
Oh man.
Now I
I-
associate League with mental health talk. The irony. Wow. Blame Tina.
Oh my god. No.
Uh,
Tina, were you gonna mention something before I threw you under the
Oh,
bus?
no, you're good. Yeah, I was gonna say I've never personally been in a stream team so connected before. I honestly got into this team because I just mentioned to my friend, I was like, I feel like I should join a team, and this was like a while ago. I think this was
Mhm.
before I even debuted as a VTuber, um, and Ash has made the process so comforting. I feel like I've made so many friends through this stream team, even though I'm like super busy. I can't be around all the time. Whenever I am, I just feel like it's just seeing old friends and it just feels like a nice little family, and I'm really happy to
Mhm.
be here and very very grateful for this opportunity to be able to talk to you guys about your journeys and stuff. I feel like I learned so much today too, so thank you for that.
Me too.
Yeah.
By the way, everyone, there is a mental health test after the stream. So if you go to Rice Bowl Discord right
Oh
now,
no.
okay. But no, I think the sentiment is there. Um, if you are not part of a stream team or want to be part of a stream team, just make sure you're looking around, learning more about the stream team that you are going to be trying to apply for or trying to be part of. Because having a solid community, especially when you're a content creator or a streamer, is very important. And I mean, one benefits from like what we get is like there's always usually someone in like the Rice Bowl chat, and we're all allowed to go in there if they're there, and like just having sometimes you don't have to say anything, just having people talk around you can be pretty good for your mental health. Because like you may not have anything to input a conversation, but like there's some really silly people in that voice chat. Um, and it's just fun to hear them. Or like if you ever make it where like Chefy Buns is like playing a game with everyone and they're just getting so upset, it's like I feel good when they're losing. I'm kidding. But it's just the way that they play together is so entertaining. And it's always good to, again, if you ever feel like you need that company, they're there. There usually literally is always someone in that. It's usually Chef Iman or Chris, but like that's still someone who is willing to
Mhm.
be there. And like even if no one's talking, just knowing that like if I want to say something, someone's listening is always a really good thing. And I think that's a good way to wrap it up. Um, Hopefully everyone was able to say what they have to say. If not, hey, we can always make this a part two. And hopefully I'll be not in some random room that I found with someone's computer that I took. um,
Uh,
and for off the record, I'm 100% joking. um, all right, so we are gonna raid someone, everyone. Um, I see someone who's good for my mental health. Tofu buns. Let's go to them.
tofu.
Woo! Let's
Yay!
um,
go.
their tofu buns is doing art. If you like watching art and that's good for your mental health, do it. That's what I do sometimes. I just watch a lot of people, especially from the stream team,
Mhm.
do art and stuff, and that makes me
Yeah.
feel good because like especially like especially like if the vibe is really comfy, it's really good. Let's see if this works. Did it work? Did it work? Are we going here? Yes. I hope that's the right tofu bun.
Hey.
If not, we'll go to someone who's like actual tofu or something. And for the raid message, I don't know if this is a rice bowl, but I'm hoping this is a rice bowl. If it's not, it's just a bowl of soup.
Let's
Got some good
stew.
stew.
You know what?
We
I'm really
With
bad
the
at
ruin.
emojis.
Close enough.
It's you know what? I stole this computer. Oh, that's a rice bowl. I thought it was like a snow thing. I thought it was a snow cone. I looked at it going like, oh, it's like shaved ice in a bowl or
Amazing.
something. Don't come on, Munchie.
Okay.
Henry, no, I know what you're thinking. Stop it.
We should probably.
Let's just raid. You know what? Thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah, I think we should probably.
That was our mental health session. Thank you
Woo!
so much. And yes, apparently that is rice and not a snow cone. Goodbye.